Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 1 of the return of HotlineFN. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day where this show returns, and I never thought I'd have any part in helping it return, but I think it's only right that it is back, and I think it's only right that we pay homage and some respect to the people that started this up and made the show possible in the first place. So before we get into anything, I want to say a big shout out to Tim McD, a legend of the Fortnite community, who initially, started HotlineFN and made it what it was, and then Bala TW as well for elevating that show and really, making it something as well that was special for the community. Those guys made HotlineFN the best and most entertaining show in like Fortnite, and like at the time, like every week, everybody was waiting for that show because it was a bunch of fun, and they absolutely killed it. And so, we wanted to bring it back in and bring that spirit back that show had. Enough sadness. Hopefully we can get both of them on to call.
I would love to, bro. That would be so sick. That would be hectic.
That would be great. But without further ado, I'm joined by two amazing people. One of them, will be with me more regularly. One of them, he's regularly with me on the weekends on the Netflix podcast anyway. So, I see them a lot. But we got the one and only Aussie Antics here. We're live on Aussie's channel. If you want to watch the show live, it's live on Aussie's channel. How you doing, Aussie?
I'm good. I'm fantastic, man. I was on the show back in the day. So, you saying all that, I'm like, damn, man, that was crazy. Ball and Tim, man, it was such a good vibe. I loved it. So, yeah, I'm excited. Bringing it back. It's a big name. It's big shoes to fill, but it should be a fun time. I'm excited.
I feel like, you've mentioned this a bit, but everybody's been desperate for you to be doing some sort of podcast for a while now.
Something like there's always been bro, there's got to be some kind of podcast you got to do. And I was like, guys, look, I'm kind of sick of giving my opinion on everything, but the chance to give the community to come in and ask their question and give their opinion, which I'm excited for. Again, this isn't just a Q&A thing. I want chat to give their opinion. You tell me you think Peterbot's actually dog shit and he's not winning grands. Come tell us. That's what I want to hear. I want that. And that's what HotlineFN used to be. So I'm very excited. It should be good.
Another person who was on the show is Vivid. You were on the OG HotlineFN. I remember that episode very well. It was one of my favorite eps. How you doing, Viv?
Wait. I was?
You don't even remember?
I was literally about to tee it up and be like, dude, I need you guys tell me about how this used to go or what used to happen. I swear I was literally about to hit you with I don't think I ever watched it, and you're telling me that I was on it. I swear I had no idea.
Bro, you were on the episode, and I remember this so well because I think it was the episode after the first ep I was on it, and it was after DreamHack Anaheim. So it was the episode after DreamHack Anaheim, back when Vivid was still a top player in NA, and they got you on. He was a bit of a washy boy at that point, to be fair. But they got you on, and I remember I loved the episode because back then I didn't know you, we had never spoken. And I remember thinking, this guy's making so many excuses for why he didn't place well. He's got every excuse in the book, And I remember thinking to myself, what's wrong with this guy? Just accept that you just didn't play well. And it's
damn.
Okay. Go back and watch it, Viv. You should go back and watch it.
I literally just looked it up and I found it instantly.
Viv is not even sure, bro. He's am I being gaslit? There's no way. You had to look it up to make sure you actually didn't. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's terrible. Well, okay, I was on the show before. Excited to be a part of it again in a different capacity, I guess this time. And I won't be making excuses. I'll be. I don't need to make excuses anymore. You know what I mean? I need to just
you joined us, bro. You don't have to be good anymore, man. That's the whole point. None of us have to be good anymore. It's fantastic. We can all get washed.
Oh man.
But yeah, I'm super excited for this, man. I feel like
fun.
Yeah, it's something that the community has missed in terms of having that sort of interaction, and basically to explain it for people who are joining the stream right now and are what are they even talking? What is this? What are they about to do? Are they about to just waffle? We already watch Aussie do that for 4 hours every day. We don't need this,
man.
But for people who don't understand what this is, HotlineFN is essentially a call-in show. A lot of you are too young to have ever listened to radio ever, but if you are old enough to know about radio, you might, recall listening to radio call-in shows. And this is essentially the same sort of vibe, but here in Fortnite. What will happen is that the three of us will be here, and we will wait for you guys to come call in and give your take. You might have a hot take, an unpopular opinion, a bold prediction, right? Those are the main three we look for, right? That's the sort of holy trinity. And you come in, you give us your take, tell us what it is you think about Fortnite in some capacity, and then we discuss it as a panel and give our thoughts on your take. So it's not just a straight Q&A. Like, don't come in here and ask, do you think Peterbot's cheating? Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't care. You know, like, that's not what this
let's
is
get your
for,
opinion.
right?
Yeah, let's hear what you
it's
say.
like, if you had your opinion and you come in and say, hey, Levin, I think this, and that because of this, and that, and then we discuss it, and that's basically the goal. If you want to know how you actually get involved in that, ! Hotline. What did you do? The command
podcast. ! Podcast is mine.
Okay,
Yeah, podcast is mine.
okay.
Yeah. !
Podcast in Aussie's Twitch chat. It will bring up the link to the Discord. Join that Discord. In that Discord, when you're there, there will be a channel called Give Your Take. Hashtag Give Your Take.
Oh.
Put whatever it is you want to talk about in that channel. Just type it out. Try keep it like, don't do like a whole paragraph because like I'm not going to be able to read that while we're live. So just, briefly summarize what it is you want to talk about. If you see that your message receives like the green check, like the green approval check. If you see your message gets that, then join the waiting room channel in that Discord. Once you join the waiting room channel in that Discord, I will drag you up and you'll be able to join and talk to us and we'll get that all sorted for you basically. So yeah, start joining that Discord. Let us know your takes, what it is you want to talk about as we sort of wait. And also I've just seen it now. I've just, someone's joined the channel and they haven't put anything in Give Your Take. Don't join the I'm not gonna, if you don't know what it is you want to, he's instantly left as well. I've seen you guys left. Don't join the waiting room if you've not told us what it is you want to talk about. We won't bring you up. Like, we want to make sure we know what people want to talk about before they join. So yeah, join the Give Your Take channel. Someone just said it's locked, so let me fix that then. I will unlock it right now.
This is the first one. We're gonna try to make these pretty regular as well. The goal is to make these quite regular. Obviously, it depends on tournament schedule. It depends on me and Levin. Depends on how early I want to wake up. You've got a European, American, Australian here as well. I'm used to being the odd one out in that and just kind of like messing up. But we're gonna do it pretty regular as well. Dude, Vivid, I still can't even forgot you're on one, dude. I was on one and I was just like, dude, I remember it like clear as day, bro. I was like starstruck. I'm like, oh my god, this is baller. This is like before I was casting and stuff. So I had a fun time.
Dude, literally no idea. Like, I just looked it up and I saw like my setup and everything like that. I'm like, that's so long ago. Like that.
Yeah.
It must have
This
been...
show was OG, dude. This was like this was like early chapter 1. This was like, this was literally like the early days of Fortnite podcast. They kept it going for a while, and then it was always sick. Everyone tuning in and like kind of having pros come ask their opinion. It was great. I remember there was one. I think there was one where someone asked my opinion of like a pro. I think it was like Calc or something, and like I was kind of new and I didn't really want to like flame anyone, but I was kind of flaming. And the Calc was in the chat, and I was like, oh man, no. I was like, oh no. It was sick though. Yo, what's up, Connor Rio? There you go. That's someone who knows. Connor would be around from those days. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
Chat, Levin's figuring out the Discord. It's all good, but I mean,
you want to get us started, Ozzy, in terms of give it. You in the spirit of the show. Do you have any hot takes, unpopular opinions, bold predictions you want to dive into for us?
I will, because again, I know the whole point of the podcast is not hearing me yap the whole time, but I know there's a question a lot of people keep asking me to answer, and I want to hear people from chat's take. I want to hear Vivid's take. I want to hear Levin's take. This is the worst FNCS format we have ever had. That is just that's not my prediction. That's my take. This is the worst FNCS format we have ever had. And I want to discuss that. I want to see if I can be proven wrong, because I hope you guys can prove me wrong, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And it's just the one format I think we've seen for the longest period of time. I think we're going to get it all 3 seasons now. Last season, this season, next season. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Okay.
I want to know why you think that first, though.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think it's the worst?
I think it's okay. I think the break week. Everyone knows the break's kind of terrible. I was accepting it for like 1 week to ban cheaters. Like, it's kind of a necessary evil. You'd rather not a break week, but I get that. I'm guessing that's why Epic did it. Now it's turning into like a break month. I don't know if you guys have checked. Next season is literally 4 weeks long. Is the break? The break is 4 weeks long in the middle of FNCS. That is the length of the FNCS in the middle of FNCS. But whatever. If we discount the break even, I just think it is one of the worst formats for not getting the best players into Grands. I think the best players still get to Grands, but it's not the best indicator during the qualifiers of who is going to do the best. Like, you take a team, and again, I don't want to call them out, Pink and Vico, looking amazing. I think they are a phenomenal team, but they won both weeks of qualifiers. Then we got a Duo Cash Cup finals, which is a set lobby, a better indicator of their skill. And I don't think they did particularly well. So do I think Vico and do I think they're a favorite now to win Grands? I don't know. I've never had a format where someone can win both weeks of the qualifiers, and I can't really tell you that they're going to do well in Grands. That's just not a good format. You have to get some set lobbies in there, I feel like.
Yeah, I've always been the type of person that like no matter what the tournament is, right? Most tournaments there's like qualifiers, obviously, and they almost all are like I would say like 99% of them lead into a finals where it's a set lobby. You
Mhm.
need to have, like you said, set lobbies throughout the entire qualifiers and everything like that. Like you mentioned, we just have these open 250, whatever's going on, and then it's like, okay, well then maybe we can get to like semifinals and there's set lobbies. Well, it's like yeah, there is, but they're not playing all of those set lobbies out, right? They're just qualifying for finals and then they're out of the
Yeah.
competition if they win a game. So it's like you could
Yeah.
have a team qualify after one game, or you will have a team qualify after one game. They've played one game of
Yeah.
set lobbies and then they're in finals in a set lobby format. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just not cool to me. I've always been a fan of, like you mentioned, just set lobbies as much as we possibly can. And of course,
Mhm.
if we could get that in qualifiers, that would be awesome. But I think, like, the only thing good that anybody has really said okay, wow, that sounds extremely bad. But I think the only good thing that anybody has really said about this qualifying format is that, like, watching the broadcast or, like,
Mhm.
watching the weekly games, you do get a ton of end games. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what everybody has wanted.
True.
But I hope people now realize how much a setup of a game actually means to storyline, because I'll be honest with you, I'm watching these end games and it's
Mm.
just like,
Who cares?
do I care
Do I care?
really? You
Should
know what
I
I mean?
care?
Because
Like, this
yeah,
looks like every other
exactly.
end game to me. Like, yeah, there's some names
Yeah.
in there I know, but like, what do they need? Like, is there something on the line? Is there some stakes? Yeah, that's pretty much my experience with it as well. I feel like also the opening format as well, just the top. So is this top 2,000 to top 1,000? And I know last season we
Yeah.
had record player counts, but I'm going to lean on that one. It does defend my point more, I'll admit. But when we had, what was it, 500,000 duos play on EU. So we were qualifying 0.5% of the player base on EU in one round and then 50% in the next round. It just made no sense. It made round one ridiculously hard, which I think just crushed the hopes and dreams of like, content creators or up and coming pros, which I think Fortnite likes. They want people to feel like they can make the next round, crush their hopes and dreams, and then get them into a format where then if they make it to that next round, they're like almost guaranteed round two. Like it just felt like, round three. It just didn't matter. Like it just, I don't know. It felt so weird. I think they need to change up that dynamic as well. I think even if, weeks don't end in set lobbies, I honestly could maybe get behind that if the semifinals was a better format, but then they actually had that open format better. I do
Yeah.
think that like finishing each week without set lobbies is okay as long as the heats format, the semifinal format, like you said, isn't win one game and you're through. Like Peterbot and Poi are probably going to load up semis, win one game, and they're in grands. And that's basically all we've seen from them in FNCS that matters.
Yeah.
I actually just don't like not having set lobbies at all. Just
Okay.
because for me, it's like we go into semis and I don't know, like I've not been able to watch, like, like we come into semis and you're looking at certain teams who are on upper bracket, and you can almost go the whole like FNCS right up until semis and have not seen a team, but they're just in upper bracket. If you're just like watching through the lens of the broadcast, and even if you're not, like if you're doing a viewing party type stuff, right? Like if someone's not streaming, how are you seeing them?
Yeah.
To go back to the Pink point, and I had this conversation with Pink, so he knows this isn't shade at all, right?
Okay, sure.
Pink won both weeks.
Both weeks.
And I was like, it feels like I didn't see you. Like I can't like there was a couple games when we watched them, but like it didn't feel like if you go back to almost any other FNCS format, a team wins back-to-back qualifiers. If a team wins all the qualifiers in that season, that feels like domination. That feels like, wow, like this team is on top, they're dominating, they're rolling. It doesn't feel like that with Pink and Vico. And it's not because they're bad or they're not as good, but it's just because the nature of the format means like you don't really actually track that story. The nature of the lobbies are a bit like, oh, what's going on here? Like, some of the lobbies you're watching and it's like just actual like cash cup lobbies. Like it doesn't feel like super stat games. It's like, I don't know. I feel like set lobbies, are just, I don't know. For me, I just, I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna chill. We'll save some of the as the podcast goes on. I'll get looser and looser in it. But
I think set lobbies in general, I think are getting overdone, which is crazy on that point we're talking about. I think the set lobbies need to be reserved for FNCS so they feel substantial and exciting. And Duo Cash Cups need to not have set lobbies because we're in this weird spot where we have teams like Peterbot and Poyo and other teams dominating Duo Cash Cups, but there's always the mentality now of, oh, it's just a Duo Cash Cup. It's like, the only prize money tournament each week that finishes with like the best of the best going at it, and then FNCS doesn't even have that. So like I remember Peterbot and Poyo didn't come first in like one of the weeks of qualifiers. Already kids on YouTube in my chat are saying like, oh, Peterbot and Poyo fell off, they're not doing really well, blah blah blah. But then it's like, but but then they win 6 out of 6 the next Duo Cash Cup. But then people are like, let's do a Cash Cup. It's not grands. It's just this weird kind of like Cash Cups need to feel less important, but fun and different. And then FNCS needs to be like the pinnacle. Like, this is FNCS. This is where like we really prove who's the best of the best. But I want to pose the question then, if you guys had to make your perfect FNCS format, I know it might be putting you on the spot. Do you have it? I can do mine first. You can have a second to think about it. I think if we had weekly qualifiers like we used to, where we had weekly where it got to a set lobby, I think set lobbies for each week need to not auto call you anymore because everyone hates auto call. The players hate it, the viewers hate it. Put prize money back in the weekly qualifiers so the players are still playing for something. And then that leads to a traditional heats format, just regular heats format. Maybe we have like, 4 heats going. What is that? We need to get 50 teams in there. So, oh my God, my math, 12 teams, isn't it? 12 teams. And then have like 2 reboot rounds. 2 reboot rounds, like the good old reboot rounds, and then jump into grands 2 days. Like, I think that would be so sick. Take all the different parts from different formats we've had and finally get one good one.
You know what? I hear what you're saying, because I definitely think, and I think you mentioned this sort of like before when we were talking on stream, there's a lot of great things we've had from other formats, and it's like we change format and like we lose something nice that we had, and
always,
do you know what I mean?
Every time.
So I like the idea behind trying to get the best things from all these different formats and like bring them in together. I've not thought too much about like the perfect FNCS format for me. The one thing I'd say, like, there are a couple of things that I feel like we just need more of. For one, I want more qualifying weeks. Like 2 qualifying weeks for me is just like, it's too, it doesn't feel enough. Like, it doesn't feel substantial. This is like the typical 11 thing of like saying a problem but not giving the best solution. One of the things I always hate about FNCS is in terms of like the flow of hype in a season, there's not a gradual build-up of hype, right? What happens is that we come into an FNCS season, usually not this season, because this season was really weird with that, but usually you come into an FNCS season, week 1 of quals is like is like really hype. It's like up here, right?
Yeah.
Week 2, week 3, or whatever it is, it goes down. Then with semis, it comes back up a bit, but depending on what the semis format is that season, sometimes it doesn't even come at that much. And then you're super hyped for grands and you peak again. It's like, it's that right? I'd love if, naturally with most things, like week 1 of anything is going to be as hype, really. I wish there wasn't so much of a decline in terms of the hype. I wish it was more of a gradual progression through the season as like things get more important and things get more exciting. And so however we build out a format, I'd like it to sort of like facilitate that, like a better gradual build up of just hype and excitement as you go through a season.
Yeah, I agree. You got a perfect format, Vivid?
I don't have a perfect format, I won't lie, but I definitely want to hit home on like reboot rounds. Like, I know that those are kind of like gone. I know that you mentioned 2, and 2 definitely makes the most sense because, like you said, you want like 12 teams to qualify. They even number.
I want at least one. One proper reboot round was so hectic. Oh my God,
I would love for there to just be one reboot round game again. Yeah. But obviously with duos, it'd be really hard because then somehow you'd have to get to 49 duos.
You could still just do like one of the week's quals, one extra team. Like, that's not the end of the world. That's not that confusing for viewers to understand. It's not like I don't need to get out a whole like flow sheet to explain that,
Obviously we've already mentioned, like, I don't really have the perfect format. All I know is that it needs to be inclusive of set lobbies throughout the weeks, and in hold on, I just had the thought, like, and no auto calls throughout the weeks either.
Yeah, no auto calls. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, teams shouldn't be able to like auto call in week 1 and then you just don't see them for the rest of the FNCS. Like, that's like really dumb.
Yeah.
And then also to kind of boot, not to like critique your
no, please do. That's what I want. Please tell me it's dog shit.
But
I don't care.
But like, let's say that the format or the prize pool for an FNCS, I don't know, like, let's just say $1 million.
Yeah.
And if Epic's like, okay, listen, we're gonna give FNCS $1 million in Major 1, and they're like, oh, see, we're gonna give some of that money to the weeks, and I'd personally be like, no, I'd rather it all just be in the finals. You know what I mean? Like, I think that if the weeks was like, if they throw in a little bit here and it doesn't necessarily like take away from the finals, obviously that's really hard to quantify, and we'll never know really if they do that or not, right?
Yeah.
But if it was up to it, like, I would rather have everything in finals, right? But I get the point. It's like we are in this point in formats where it's like, okay, we play week 1 and teams do so well that they qualified for the next round immediately because they have so many series points. But again, I think that could be necessarily or kind of be fixed with Levin's point in saying that if we just have another qualifying week, then right, those series points, you aren't just locked in after 1 week. You do have to do well in like at least 2 weeks kind of lock your spot in that sense. So I
Yeah.
definitely don't have the perfect format, but I would like to see reboot rounds back in some way, shape, or form. Way more set lobbies, and I like the point as well where it's just like teams shouldn't be able to qualify instantly, whether that be through a
No.
series point leaderboard week number 1 or auto qualifying to grands, right? Like those have to go. There needs to be like a progressive thing, like Levin kind of mentioned, and yeah, just something like that.
I think if you had a format, I think if you had a 3-week qualifying format and you like last season was so big because there was a lot of content creators or teams that like we didn't know where they'd make it. And like, obviously like it was the script, as everyone kept saying, with Mongraal and Savage, and it came right down to the wire. But I think a better format with more qualifying weeks could still enable that. And following those kind of teams, like, you know, maybe your teams like Cypher PK and stuff would still be really cool, even if the pros are through. But then having that bit of prize money. And I will counter your point about having more money in the finals, needing it to make it exciting. They just cut the LAN prize pool from 4 down to 2 mil. And I don't think it's changed the hype for it whatsoever. I don't think there's going to be any less hype going into it. I think once you get to a certain point of money where it's enough to be like, damn, these people are making money, especially if the finals of grands of FNCS seasons now calls you to a LAN with millions of dollars, it'll always have that hype to it. I feel like having some prize money in the weeks just to feel like it matters who comes second versus third, and that will increase the hype. But again, like you said, you never know until you actually do it. But it also depends on how it's received by the Fortnite scene. Like you've seen as well, Vivid. Like there's being like good that people received terribly, said it was terrible, brought the hype down, and then that made it terrible rather than the actual thing in itself. So it's hard to know what the best format is.
Question for you then, as somebody who like watches a lot of like, because I used to play, so I have first-hand experience when I was playing, and now I have kind of like experience when I'm just like exclusively watching everything like that. Do you think this is gonna be a crazy? Do you think the amount of money in a finals makes a difference?
It's a hard one because, like I just said, then it's kind of weird. If the pros are excited and it makes the pros have to think it makes a difference to care enough to play properly to make the viewers translate to that, right?
Okay.
Like if you tune into a stream or you tune into me or you look on social media and it like third place doesn't care that they didn't come first, there is something very wrong with the format, and that will translate into the viewer spectacle as well. But from your point of like, I think, no, I don't think it needs to have as much money as some people think. Like I said, going from $4 million in the finals down to 2 for the LAN, I don't think it's diminished hype whatsoever from a viewer perspective, but that's because it didn't really diminish the perspective of players, right? Like if you can still have a chance to win a few $100,000, you're going to be hyped either way. Obviously, World Cup, where just making it was 50K was nuts. But back when we had those prize pools, dude, you came like 11th in solos and made no extra money in certain formats. Like that didn't make the players feel better about it, and that made it weird too. So I think more money can never hurt, but it sometimes doesn't help. Look at the solo victory cups, bro. Viewership-wise, I can get 10,000 viewers for a solo victory cup sometimes when I'm watching the person play for $100 freaking dollars. Like you can make formats exciting without money, but money always does help.
I guess I was kind of just like asking that because I mean, obviously now, like, it doesn't matter how much hype there is behind an FNCS. It's like, it's my job, and that's what I love to do. I love to watch Fortnite, so I'm going to show up no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter how much money's on the line or anything like that. So, like, now I have that perspective. But when I was playing, it was like, yo, like 70K for first. Like, I want, you know what I mean? And then it hits like my bank account. It's like, oh, okay, money's actually really, really cool in this regard. But then also with like the FNCS format now being that, like, you know, the qualifying spots for globals, I feel like that kind of overshadows how much money is actually in finals, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, this team won, you know, whatever, 50,000, 60,000, however much it is, but they qualified the globals. Like, you know what I mean? Like that to me is like means a lot more. That's how I kind of brought up that discussion. I was curious to see how people who have been watching exclusively for the past couple years kind of feel about it. Because like I said, I may have a skewed perspective on it just because I played and then now I watch.
I think it's pretty similar to yours. We got a call 11. We got
our first caller, so I'm gonna bring them up, and we're gonna see how this goes. Okay, hopefully everything goes smoothly.
It's a test,
All right. Hello, first caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, I am Frostbite. I'm from England.
Welcome, Frostbite, and shout out to a brother from England. It's getting quite late here in the UK, so I appreciate you calling in. What is your take, my friend?
So my take was that obviously in the recent FNCS, well, in the recent weeks, we've seen lag basically fixed. So then that like brings the question, what's really the point of Surge? Because Surge initially was reduce the lag, increase the fighting. Is there an alternative?
Good question. I love that question. I mean, yes, the lag has gotten so much better. I'm so excited for that. It's a whole nother topic, but I won't turn into that one. I think you still need Surge for the excitement. I'm not gonna lie. Like with the way we've gotten to the game of Fortnite, like if you could just go to center zone or use your knowledge of where zones are pulling and just just build a 4x2 of metal and just sit there and literally just do emotes at each other, I genuinely think pros would. If the money was high enough and they got bored enough and there was no reason to fight, with the way teams split drops now to get guaranteed loot, I just think they'd sit in the middle and it would be so absurdly boring.
Yeah, you like. I really like that question because it's again, it's like the initial purpose of Surge, was to help mitigate the lag. However, though, another big thing is like Ozzy sort of hinted on is just the fact that like it's incentive, right? It gives incentive for action. And I think if you didn't have Surge, then people are gonna sit there and just they're not gonna why fight. And there's a lot of situations we just wouldn't need to fight. You wouldn't need to go out of your way to try to deal some sort of damage and make something happen. And to be fair, in terms of other solutions, we have already seen them try things, right? Because Surge alone's not been enough for many years, right? We had mid-game objective of the island, right? Things like forecast tower, things like bunkers, things like caches. So they brought things in to encourage people and incentivize people to fight more, to like thin out a lobby. But then I guess again, imagine you added a bunch of those mid-game objectives and then you get rid of Surge. Like how does the dynamic then look, right? Because these things like I definitely think it's cool to like play around with. To not get into like a whole thing that is very unrelated. This is also one of the reasons why I would have loved and I've been begging for years for us to have more like tools in terms of being able to customize how a server works so that we could just test this. Like imagine we could just do some customs and turn off Surge, but like see what happens. Like so I'd love us to be able to test out stuff like that. We can't, but I do think it's interesting. I still think we need Surge though, just for the perspective of like we need to give people we need people fighting. And even though they did fix servers, like they're much better. I don't know if now we want to like go the full other way. It's like, okay, there's no no more. So fun Surge. Let's everyone just let's have a 100-player moving zone. Like I don't know if that's where I want to go because then you quickly go back to servers being laggy again and a whole cycle of things.
Now, one final thought I had: make it rain.
Ooh, yeah, the make it rain bonus.
Oh, dude, that was like the epitome of Fortnite. So if people don't know what make it rain was, because I think we were around. Vivid probably played it. Vivid, did you play make it rain, Tony?
Yeah.
Okay. So before they could do Storm Surge, for anyone who doesn't know, Make It Rain was like they'd be in the like stadium playing the game, and they'd be like on the speakers like it's big bonus time, or let's make it rain. Whoever gets the next elimination gets $50,000. It was like the most Fortnite thing. It's literally throwing money at the problem. Like that is genuinely what it was. It was kind of funny. I wouldn't be against it, bro. Like imagine the storylines. Can you imagine like a team in last just jumps on Peterbot's head because they might get 10 grand if they take him down because he's the team that happens to be next to him? Terrible for the competitiveness, but it would be hilarious.
Yeah. From your experiences of playing Make It Rain, would you like to bring it back as someone who played in it?
No, I mean it's just like let's be honest. Usually half the time elims in front of I'll be honest with you, like so many elims in front of can be like they're just luck. Like honestly, sometimes they're just luck. And to basically just throw money at somebody because they got like 7 elims where like 5 of them could have been like 1 AR tag from across the entire map, like absolutely ridiculous. And I'm also extremely biased because everybody knows my play style in Fortnite. I was not getting more than like 2-3 elims in a Fortnite match. So like I'm like, heck no. Like I don't what about instead of whoever gets like the least amount of kills? I'd be down for something like that. But
be so troll.
I mean it's a battle royale. Like let's stick to the the placement and honestly elim points.
You throw some cool stuff. It's so funny how Frostbite's question the Storm Surge. I was like, no, that would never work instantly. But then you started mentioning all the mid-map objectives. Like, I want to see a world where they could get it to the point where it's like Apex, right? Apex, again, the other good competitive battle royale, where their system is Evo. You do damage, so your shield gets better. So you gain loot by doing damage. It would be cool to see Fortnite adopt a system where it's you're being aggressive to gain something, not to avoid a negative, right? Because right now, most players are doing it to avoid damage. They're not gaining always necessarily from it. Where it would be cool to see if, like, by fighting, you're always getting upgraded loot and getting something that's worth it. Maybe, like, it's a mid-map objective, which gives you, like, a mythic weapon. And then teams who want to play passive, like Vivid said, if they're good enough at it, can still do that and can still do well. They just wouldn't have the loot for it. I don't know.
Like, you deal more damage. Maybe, like, you get like your a certain thresholds, your weapons upgrade, right?
I think
like
they tried it. That's what they tried.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
did
they
that in
had
what was the chapter 3 one? Evo
Chrome,
weapon,
right?
Oh wow, they even stole the word. Jeez, I never actually even thought about it.
Oh yeah, wow.
I actually didn't think about that either.
Wow. So they've tried it, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's just we're so far in Fortnite. I don't know if you could change something to that core of a degree. They always have to just, like add little things to try to push us there. I don't think they can just pull the band-aid and fully change it.
I think you can, but that's one of the things that like I've always been frustrated about with Fortnite. Like, I think it's fine sometimes to just go crazy or something, just change something up.
We can walk with medkits now.
I remember back in the day when they were still figuring this whole thing of competitive Fortnite out. And remember, we just have the random cups that were just mad set. And I remember that one cup where you could take people's edits, like every like obviously. Again, at the time, it was just AIDS, right? Like everyone was like, "What is this?" But like, I like the fact that back then, like, we were just trying shit. Like nowadays, I feel like we don't really try like crazy stuff no more. Like I missed the days when we just tried a bunch of mad stuff.
It would be great
you
to
never
keep
know
that
something
into, like,
works.
mix on Monday.
Yeah, but then they're terrible.
True.
I was gonna say they're trying, but then it's awful.
Yeah.
They get lazy. Like I think they've tried with the lightning cups and mix up Monday. Then they don't put a prize money on it or anything that anyone cares about. And then you can tell they like someone's come up with the idea, so they do it, and then like they're like, oh, we'll figure out what we're gonna change later. Because as the season goes on, by the end, it's like DMR kills are worth twice as many, and it's like you're not mixing up shit. It's just like this is terrible. No one wants to play this. No one wants to watch it. But I do like that idea if they brought out proper tourneys that people like tried. That would be sick.
That's really nice. Thank you very much for your call, Frostbite. An amazing first caller. And let this be an example to the people watching right now. This is what we need. Come in here with something interesting, a cool angle. You know, we got a couple more callers lined up that I want to bring in here. Another really cool thing about the way we're doing this, another really cool thing about the way we're doing this is that we can actually bring up comments. So some of the people typing the comment, we can see you. I know we've not been interacting too much with the chat, but we can see you. And so while I get the next caller ready, I would love us to have some. If you don't want to call in, but you do have some sort of opinion that you want us to discuss right now, you know, send it in the chat right now. We'll get somebody up, we'll get something up, a message up, and we can break it down.
Sick. Hell yeah.
Well, while we wait for that, why don't I throw that cool little idea there? Probably a pretty generic one.
Okay.
It's like an idea that you guys have had throughout the years that you kind of wish was added to the game or something that like something wacky.
Oh. Wacky. Like I had this idea, and like you have to follow me here. It's like it's really groundbreaking. So like like what you want to like you want to fight in Fortnite, but sometimes it punishes you. So you want to like reward aggression. What if when you killed someone, you gained some form of health or shit? No, I'm sorry. I've got an actual no fucking good answer, so I'm just gonna be a little prick and say Siphon. But I genuinely can't think of anything outside of that. Like I've come up with so much random shit I want added to the game, but like that's all that's in my fucking head right now. So I'm gonna pass it 11.
So okay. Go ahead, Levin. Levin, you're muted if you don't.
Levin's doing his thing. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No. Have you got one? Like, there's not one that I've just like. There's no one thing I've always been like, damn, if the game added. There's so many things I want changed, but there's nothing like just like one thing where if they add it to Fortnite, it'll be the greatest thing ever. Not that I can think of anyway.
The thing that I've always thought about with Fortnite, and one of the biggest resource, or the way that I always thought about the game was your most valuable resource was time. Okay, so you need to always spend time doing something. And the reason why some players are so good is because they efficiently use their time or something like that. Like sometimes they're just refarming mats or farming materials for the teammates, something like that. So I had the idea that how can we convert time? If you have a lot of time, how can we kind of convert that to resources or loot? And the idea that I had, now this may be terrible, and everybody will be like, you're an absolute
I love
moron,
this.
which is completely fair. But
I'm so invested.
And the idea that I had was that if you are capped on a certain material, if you continue to farm said material, you can get loot. Or maybe it's like, or if you, let's say you have 500 wood and you keep hitting a tree, you can then regen your shield up to like, let's say like 50 shield if you keep hitting trees or wood or something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
that sounds like it would have been an augment from last chapter. That sounds like an augment idea.
It was like spending mats to get stuff from vending machines and stuff, but it's kind of like I like the idea that it would be less location specific, so you can work the different strengths of different areas. I like the idea that if you land at a place that has an excess of one thing but not another thing, you're not just instantly off worse. Like where every pro now looks at a POI, what has the best wood, metal, brick, what has the best this, and that, where like having excess of one leading to another could be kind of cool. Like that could be kind of fun to play around with. Obviously, you got to like really flesh it out, but I'm not super against it.
I think that could be interesting. I feel like, again, it depends, because even again, someone in chat said it, like your cap mats go up. So what if it was just something as simple as like you cap, like maybe you farm, maybe you like trade in like 200 wood that you farm, and then you get an extra like 50 slot of wood or something. I don't know, like do you know what I mean? So it's like
that would be broken.
So if your POI had an excess of one thing, you could then account for that excess, but by trading it in. So it'd be a bit like, again, maybe I'm getting a bit too technical with it, but you see what I'm sort of thinking? It's like, I feel like there's ways you can like mess around with things and try things that could be like interesting at least. Or,
I agree. Because I didn't hate the meta where you would farm up a bunch of loot and you would buy stuff from vending machines or upgrading with material, like when that felt good. Like you were telling me Vivid about how like you play passive. Like that doesn't always have to be like a giant negative and now you go into endgame with sticks and stones. You could like play passive, good rotates, delay your rotate to get mats to upgrade to a gold spaz. So when you got to the end game, you then still had some firepower. Like it is cool to like play in a different play styles, but yeah, you'd have to kind of flesh it out. Everyone wants to always add a fourth material. I see that one all the time. Like there needs to be another new material, like we had with the armored walls, but like not really, like something that's like extra strong. It could be kind of cool that like you invest, maybe half of all your other materials to gain like 5 builds that are like twice as strong as metal or something. Like there could be some cool stuff like that to really change the game.
There's been that idea for so long. Like I always remember Tom's idea for the fourth metal or fourth material was always like, I don't want to, like rubber, like you could like throw like tires or something like that. Like that was always his idea.
Okay.
I'm not, I never had an idea myself, but like that was always
some interesting ideas. But I guess I think most of those ideas, if you just flesh them out more, could be decent.
Yeah, 100%. We got our next caller ready. Can't speak English. Before I bring them in though, again, just to update people, because I know a lot of new people have come in. If you want to be able to join and give your take and get involved in the show, join the Discord, !podcast and Aussie's chat. Join that Discord and you can leave something and give your take. I'm not going to lie, I have actually locked the channel just because there was so many messages. You guys are very amazing, which is great. But we have a couple people lined up that I'm going to bring in.
Okay. And then we'll open it up again. Okay.
And then we'll open it up again, and then, you guys can let the floodgates go. But yeah, just so you know that. Let's get our next caller in then. Okay. Hello, new caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Zach and I'm from the UK.
Oh,
welcome, Zach. Welcome.
All the English guys are up so late, man. What is going on, bro? They're showing up. I love it. This is great.
Zach, what is your take, brother?
So I think that Mr. Savage and Mongraal need to split up because Savage is in his prime and Mongraal is holding him back.
These are the topics you always like kind of tread lightly on. Does one of you guys want to go first? I'm down to talk about it, but I don't want to keep going first.
I'm ready. You go. I like this. This is what I like to hear. These are the stuff I like to. Okay, Mr. Savage is in his prime, and you're saying what Mongraal's holding him back. Yeah. I'll be honest, man. Again, I think Mongraal's got a lot of flack because it's been very clear that he is not at the same level of Savage, and it's very clear that he's behind, understandably, because he was away for so long, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is, if you put a player of Savage's level and paired Savage with a player of his level, what that team and what their potential is in FNCS is much, much higher than if you placed a player of Mongraal's level with Mongraal, right? Hopefully I've explained that the way people understand. The level Savage is playing at and has been playing at for a while now, he's good enough to where like you pair him with some of like the sort of top tier EU players, like they're getting top 10 in FNCS. Like they're with certain people, if you pair them together and it works right, like they're contending for FNCSs potentially. Maybe I'm doing too much for Savage there.
No.
The reality is Mongraal is not at that level. And so, again, it's like, is it worth it for Savage? Like, I understand why there might be Savage fans out there or just people out there who feel like, well, Savage is like wasting this prime. And for one, it's crazy that we can talk about Savage having a prime when he's been here.
He's so good right now. He is
6 years. It's ridiculous. Like, this guy's longevity is nuts. So props to Savage for that, for one. But I definitely think this is a fair take. I think I actually agree. The way I don't agree is just from the angle of like, I don't necessarily think you can drop him because the reality is like Savage knows this, right? Like I'm sure Savage understands this. Like he knows he's much better than Mongraal. Like he's not blind to that. I guess it's just, for him, it's just worth it to play with Mongraal because of the content that comes out of it, just the overall like optics of it, just for him and his brand, I feel like probably outweigh what he thinks it would be if he did try and play with somebody else who's pretty crazy right now.
I want to jump in only because like I think there is no debate Savage is better than Mongraal. Mongraal knows that fucking BloodX will tell him that every single time he plays. He'll be like, yo, drop your shit, fucking drop your guns, drop your material, go jump off and die so Savage gets your Cypher mats. Like it gets hardcore at times when Mongraal is just getting like beat down. But I think the one thing people don't talk about is just the fun of it. Like I genuinely think like, dude, what more does Savage have to get? Like, I don't know. I'm not going to open up this conversation of pocket watching Savage's income or like his career, but like maybe he just wants to have fun. Like, and it looks like they have fun. Even when Mongraal and, Blood are bickering and shit, Savage is laughing. Like, I think it's the reason why his longevity is there is because he's actually been enjoying the game now, where maybe if he played with someone who's a lot more hardcore, screaming every day, boring as shit, we might see Savage in a mad decline. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to get on and like touch the game. I feel like that factor doesn't come in enough where people just assume it's all about content over like placements or like how much money he makes from content versus money from doing well. I think he might just really enjoy playing with Mongraal. Like they're friends. They're like actual friends for a long time. Like, I think Vivid, maybe you have something to offer on that since you were an ex-pro. And like, maybe if towards the end, when you started to get burnt out, you play with someone for fun versus placement, you maybe stuck around longer. Like, you know what I mean?
No, that was literally my point, is that like, I think people aren't necessarily respecting the idea that we may not even, like, MrSavage may not even be competing right now. Like, he may have quit if it wasn't for Mongraal. Like, obviously that's like a crazy take and one for another discussion. But yeah, seriously, there is a lot of value in just having fun with who you are teamed with. Like, for example, me, I was lucky enough to just also not only like be the best with my teammates, but also have the most fun with my teammates in the majority of my career, right? Like I had it perfect. But then, once we kind of started to like not do so well, and I kind of like hopped teams with everybody else, it seriously was just rough from not only like a placement perspective, but also just like it's just not really having fun anymore. You know what I mean? So I could definitely understand MrSavage's take in saying that, like, listen, like, yeah, I'm not placing first, second, top 10 or anything like that. I'm making it to grands. It's not affecting my content in the sense that, like, I'm not a quote unquote competitive player. Like, people still will respect me as a competitive player, and people will still watch me as a competitive player because I am still competing in the best events out there. Yeah, I'm not placing them, but hey, I'm still having fun. My viewers are going up and everything like that. And honestly, I don't even think the viewers really matter to them. Again, I think it's just all about fun.
Yeah, I think it makes it more intense too, right? Like last season, coming down to the last wire, and then they clutch it up, and like even like we're talking about Savage's prime. Like I think a lot of the Savage prime conversation is coming from the fact that he gets to be the hero in a lot of these situations. Like he's the one solo clutch, and he's going crazy. They give him all the loot, they set him up in the situation to do well, and then he executes, which is great to watch. But that would be fun too, man. He gets to be the hero every time. Like I wonder, I question how long everyone talks about will Savage drop Mongraal. I question how long Mongraal has this in him to keep playing like this. You know what I mean? Like surely he's got to start getting like tired or like bored, or again, like he's getting the shit beat out of him and everyone's flaming him in the comments, and you know what I mean? Like that's got to start getting exhausting. I'm more worried about whether Mongraal's like, bro, I don't want to do this anymore. Like this isn't worth it for me than, than whether it's Savage. So I don't know. Like Zach, again, I'll put it back on you. Like, do you like, obviously you're coming from the perspective of like from Savage, but like, do you have any takes on whether you think it might be worse for Mongraal than Savage right now?
I don't know, because I think the only reason Savage is really doing it is mainly for the content, because he's going to get more viewers, I think, if he was playing with someone who's as big as Mongraal rather than just another pro who not many people know of.
Yeah, I feel like we'd see Savage milking it more though. I feel like Savage, if he really like, I've never seen Savage care that much about the content. Like he streams it, and I think that's because he's always streamed. He wants to bring the vibes and making content's fun. But I've never seen him like go down the YouTube route of trying to do a bunch with like collabing with other streamers and stuff like that outside of his friend group. I don't know. We'd have to ask Savage. I have to genuinely ask and see if he's honest about it. But I genuinely feel like he's at the point where I don't think he actually cares. I don't think he cares that much about like the money or the content side of things. I think it's mostly playing a Mongraal for the vibes, which obviously clutching in front of 100,000 people is nice, but I don't know. I don't think it's as much about the content as what people think.
That's an interesting question. Like, I am an avid pocket watcher. You know.
Okay. What is it with the British, bro? I swear it's you, Pink. Like all the UK guys are just full pocket watchers.
Yeah, man. It's just sometimes you just want to know type shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm an avid pocket watcher, and so like without getting into too much, I've guesstimated the kind of money that those brothers would have been making last season. God. Yeah. Let's just say
It's
For the people wondering, you know, if they'll be sad they ain't winning FNCSs, they're winning FNCS. They're winning multiple FNCSs. I tell you that much. So yeah, like the money definitely don't hurt, and I hear what you're saying. I do think a lot of it is about fun. Like these guys get along. Like people, like I'm glad you said that, Ozzy, because it's like people forget these guys are genuinely friends. In terms of like, yes, the one thing I would say though that is potentially a negative to me is that if these guys aren't good enough to make it to globals, that would be disappointing for me, because having Savage at globals last year when he was playing with a deal was really amazing. And like we need people like him at globals. Like
we do.
You know, the Clicks is in that similar sort of conversation where like guys like Clicks, like you want them at globals. Guys like Savage, you want them at globals. And in my opinion, they're not good enough to go to globals. And I don't think they'll make it to globals. And I think they're fine with that. But me as a fan of like Fortnite competitive, like that is a shame to me that there's a large chance that we just won't see Savage at globals this year. And I feel like if they are gonna split, if that does happen, it would come sort of like after globals. Like maybe he has like that sort of realization. Maybe he's like watching, like, damn, like I would have loved to be there again. But even as I say that out loud, after globals, we're getting like OG again, so the content's gonna be banging. So he's gonna be milking it, so he won't want to split anyway.
I mean, it's gonna hurt a little bit watching compete on the top level. I think, like someone in chat did mention as well, like he's mentioned multiple times, Savage is not done with that Fortnite until he wins an FNCS, quals to land. Like those are his goals, but again, his goals can change. But I do think that would be kind of tough. I mean, I don't know, dude. It'd be so weird not to see him there, though. But at the same time, the content we're getting from last season alone, from someone who's a content creator who I see my numbers just fucking going up, skyrocketing when Savage and Mongraal are playing together and doing well and stuff. I think them playing together and not making LAN is still a net positive for the Fortnite scene and eyes on competitive than if they didn't play together and Savage went to LAN with someone else.
Yeah.
Good question, though. Sick one.
Really
That's one that really gets like, you kind of got to go out there and like you got to really get the clips made and people start flaming you, and then Savage gets told in his chat that Levin thinks he's dog shit now. And
well, it's funny because like I'm just like I'm always gonna be open with it. Like I remember when we were filming in Norway for like Mr. Savage, like the snowball fight video he did. And Mongraal came up to me and he asked me like, did you think we were gonna qual? Like when we started playing each other to finals, and I think like he might have thought I would have just been like, yeah, man, of course. I said no, hell no. I said hell no. I didn't think you guys were gonna call, and I thought if you guys did call, you'd get triple, quadruple, quintuple conned in finals and dud. And like we you can sort of laugh it off. Like I think the thing is, I don't think they're like delusional. Like do you know what I mean? So like I think they know, like they realize that like they are punching upwards almost at times, right? In situations. So yeah, but the fanboys, of course, will definitely be on my case. But they're always on my case.
Yeah, they're always on everyone's case.
Yeah, who cares? Thank you very much, though, Zach. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. That was a good one. That was a very good one. Yeah.
Someone else lined up. We're going thick and fast.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to get the flow better so we can just reel people in, and I definitely can do that. So I'm gonna figure that out.
Well, though, I'm fine with this too.
This is all right for now.
I mean, my stream don't care. They're used to me just talking shit for 12 hours straight. So like, even if you just cut it up for the VOD, it's fine. No one's gonna care.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. You want to tell us about your fish or something? You know, I know you like
fish. Oh, you want to get someone else in? Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, if you want to jump out and me and Vivid keep talking, while you get someone else in. I'll get
someone else in.
Vivid, like on the question of you, of like, so if you were in Savage's position, like how much? Oh, it depends. So how much content or how much hype would have you had to have made to sacrifice missing a LAN? Or for you, was there no option? Like if you had to leave Liquid, step out of the spotlight entirely, no one knows you, not known the scene, but you got to make it to LAN versus being who you were during the time you were and not, and you know what I mean? Is there how much did you fall on that spectrum?
Holy shit.
It's a tough one, bro. It's a tough one.
Because
you were good and you had the name and you guys made content, everyone had fun. So you kind of got to be both. But if you had to be one or the other,
that's seriously impossible, because I'm not gonna lie, my entire like life is based around being competitive. Like I love being competitive. Like it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I promise you. Like obviously there are times where I have respect for people, and I won't be like, if I lose like a card game, then I won't be like screaming or like yelling or anything like that. Obviously, right? Like if you're playing a card game with like your family, but I promise you, deep down in my heart at that very moment, I want to literally break everything. Like I hate losing. Like competing has always been everything to me. Like no matter it's sports, like no matter what I'm doing in life, like it seriously doesn't matter. I want to be the best. Like for example, being an analyst or being on the broadcast, I want to be the best. I don't like, hey, I'm sorry, but like I just want to be the best at everything that I do.
No, sick. That's good. It would have been tough for you then. Like sitting there and watching someone playing LAN and like just missing out, like you would like in that moment, I feel like there's not much that could have been worth it for you then. Like the moment you'd come second and you needed to win to qual, you would just be devastated.
I think that I would honestly choose qualifying for LAN. And the reason why I say that is because I actually have to remind myself this a lot. Is that like, okay, let's be honest. If I would have continued to play Fortnite in some capacity and continued to stream or streamed like way more than I did or something like that, like then I feel like I would have been like bag chasing and I would have been making like extreme like more money basically. But I always told myself that like when I quit Fortnite, or when I retired from Fortnite specifically, the first thing that I told myself when I came to the decision was that no matter at what point in life, I have to remember that this is what's going to make me happy too. So, like money and chasing the money has never really been a thing for me. Basically is what I'm trying to say. Competing though has always been something. So honestly, crazy take, but I feel like I would have chose to go on to LAN over. Like
I think there's a lot of pros who would agree like that though. I think you say crazy, but there are a lot of pros out there who are like that. And you see the ones who have a following and don't stream as much, like Peterbot, and everyone's always because it's cheating. But like, there's just some people who just don't give a shit about the spotlight and the money that comes with it and just want to compete. Like, I think always a certain amount of money will sway people a little bit, especially as you get older. And I feel like you've got more responsibilities. Money starts to kind of look a little bit different to you than when you're younger. But there are some people who just want to win, and that's it. Like, I think that's fine. I've met people like that who I would definitely agree that 100% of being honest, they would do any amount of content and money compared to winning.
Yeah, like for example, like I saw I think it was Cypher PK or something like that. There was like some tweeter. He said something like, "Dude, if Peterbot like streamed something, he would make like 100K." And like everybody's like agreeing, like yeah, he could make. And I'm reading that out. I'm like, does everything just like everybody just mind go to money? Like, oh my god, if this guy is streaming, he's going to make this amount of money. It's not like
it does.
If this, you know what I mean? Like this guy could just be having fun and competing, and that's it. And like no. If he was streaming, he'd be making this amount of money. It's like, oh my god, like this. I get it. I get it though, but
and those numbers are always inflated by like if they went full in on the content, like grinded and like maximized it to every like inch of the money and stuff. And then even then, like that's not fun for a lot of people too. And then I think that burns them out too. I think like if Peterbot was doing that, I think he would quit as well. Like we've seen, like it's a tough one. 11, we got another caller.
We do have another caller. I do want to remind people as well because I think there's some people not getting it. And I don't want to be too hasty with people because I know people don't know and it's the first time.
Talk your shit.
Let me make it clear to you guys. There's a lot of you guys waiting in the waiting room and it's great. You're not getting dragged. I've not approved you. You're not getting dragged. The way to get on the show, you got to put your take in the Give Your Take channel. If you don't have the check mark, there's a green check mark emoji that I add, on Discord. You add the reaction, right? If you don't get that check mark, you've not been approved. Don't DM me asking me to bring your next. It's not happening. Just chill.
Yeah, we got to vet this a little bit, so we're not getting the same thing constantly. We got to vet him a bit
because I'm seeing a lot of I don't think Peterbot's gonna win. I don't do it. Okay.
I think what might be happening here is I think people are trying to join the chat room because the chat is blocked. Chat, we got a massive influx today. Shout out you guys. It's sick. Love you guys. But we've had too many questions. So right now, just chill with your takes. We're gonna be doing these pretty often. Don't worry, they're not gonna be super like if you ask a question you had from 4 weeks ago in 4 weeks time, we will still answer it. It doesn't have to be super time sensitive. But yeah, I think it's because we blocked the chat, so people are freaking out and just join the voice. I need to ask my question.
I'm gonna unlock the chat soon in a sec after we get like the next two people on. What I will say as well to people is when you put your take as well, like try at least put like some sort of while. There's like a couple people who are like saying things, but you're not like, there needs to be a bit more, do you know what I'm saying? Don't give me like a whole essay, but just a bit more would be helpful. But yeah, anyway, let's get the next caller in.
Ooh, I know Gamer Night.
Hello, Gamer Night. Where are you calling from, my friend?
The USA. And
USA.
My hot take here is that Yamzo and Rise should be the team contesting Peterbot because seasons prior they were the top dogs and now their names are kind of low and it would be great for them and us as viewers.
So you're saying like NA needs a savior.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yamzo and Rise are the ones to do it. That's crazy, bro. Like I love that storyline. We're like, yo, Peterbot and Pollo are winning this shit. Someone needs to contest them. I'm gonna go a step further. Who should be contesting them? Who has a chance to win? And who does this make sense for? Yomzo and Rise is a decent pick too. I like that one. So again, Levin, I don't know how much you're following NA out. Vivid, what do you think? Do you think Yomzo and Rise should be the ones to drop on him? Do you think dropping on them is good? Go give us your thoughts, bro.
Listen, I think that honestly, like, I don't think Yamzo and Rise is the right team. And the reason I say that is because the Yamzo and Rise for seasons now have kind of been this team that secretly you won't really ever notice it unless you watch like every VOD. Like you need to watch like 20 games and really see what they're doing. But Yamzo and Rise are this team that like to come up with strategies in like the mid game, in the early game, everything like that. They're not the type of team that just wants to go out and 50-50 and then, oh, whoa, we have this, nice little OP medallion that now we can win the game with. No, they like to be methodical throughout the middle game, throughout the early game and everything like that. Like that's just their type of play style. So whilst contesting Peterbot and Pollo, some high level team, maybe like the way that NA needs to be saved or something like that, I honestly don't think it's Yamzo and Rise.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at their placements. Then they've come 6th, 12th, and 4th in the last 3 Duo Cash Cup finals. That's not bad. Like that's what we're going off to like give their performance. I know what you're saying, Game of Night, because like we're used to seeing them like win everything when they had the OP drop, like Hammer season and stuff. But I think they're not doing that bad. Where I could easily see them getting top 3 grands, making land, and I think that's what the conversation needs to be. Everyone's acting like, again, I mentioned my most recent YouTube video. It's not the Ricky Bobby mentality. It's not if you ain't first, you're last. Top 3 still makes land. There's still tens of thousands of dollars. Like this idea that like, if you're a tier 1 team going into grands and you know that if no one contests Peterbot, you can't win, that's still okay. Like I know from viewer perspective, we don't like that storyline, but there is still some value in just playing your tournament to do well, not just to beat Peterbot and Pollo. I will say though, the idea that we're all leaning on the fact that there's no point contesting Peterbot and Pollo because a tier 1 team did it and did bad. I'm sorry. I don't think Acorn and Cold did well in that spawn fight. I don't think they prepared. I don't think they went in with the right mentality. Cold had not been playing. So this mentality that if any tier 1 pro drops on them, they're going to do as bad as Acorn and Cold, I don't think is true. And I love Acorn and Cold, but we know they're the kind of team who do not lock in at the start of a season and then lock in at the end of the season. So I do think that a tier 1 team could drop on Peterbot and Pollo and do way better than Acorn and Cold. I don't think it's Yomzo and Rise though.
Yeah, like Acorn and Cold just didn't look like they had prepped at all. Like, and they got wiped as a result.
And they left
of it.
in 3 games. You know their heart wasn't in it. If you leave in 3 games, your heart was not in it. I want like the Quanti, where Quanti was live on stream, going like blow for blow, losing 3 times in a row.
Every time.
Yeah, every time the game ends, fuck it. Where should we landed better? What did Peterbot do? And then he was telling chat, like, guys, we're gonna learn from this. He's revealing the strats like a dumbass. I'm gonna beat him next game. There was none of that with Acorn and Cold. I feel like they were just they weren't in it. They weren't fully in it.
Nah, not at all. And I'm glad you mentioned Quanti there because we had a savior. We had one. It was supposed to be Quanti.
And then, dude. And then it got so messy. We still don't even know what's happening there. I still don't know what's going on there, but it got messy.
We'll find out when we queue up.
Snake happened. Yeah.
We'll figure it out on the weekend. Is it going to be Yomzo and Rise? No, but I do want NA to have a savior. I want someone to just get into the mix because, again, it's just one of those things where it's like, it would just be a bit like, no, I don't think it would be boring because I think it'll be there will be an element of excitement there where it's like, wow, this is actually happening. But it would be cool if there was someone that threw a spanner in the works. For Yomzo and Rise, it doesn't really make sense to me. Even though they have had some like weird Osborne issues just because of like the nature of how big an area they've tried to claim, like they've had a bit of a rocky season. It's not been the best season for them. And I think part of that is when you watch a lot of the games in like open round formats, a lot of it is just because Osborne, they're trying to claim such a big area, you can't claim that area. But they're not really going to have that problem, I think, in grands realistically. They might have a couple teams around to maybe try like, abuse them a bit, in terms of certain pathings and rotates. But for the most part, they have a good Osborne situation. Like when it comes to like a top team contesting Peterbot and Pollo, like why would you do it? You do it if you were a top team that didn't really have a good spot solidified. Right, like if your situation, maybe
day 2. Even if you're just not doing well day 1, day 2 is 1.5 point time multiplier. You're going into day 2 in 30 seconds. You already have 2 kids dropping on you. You did well every time you made it off spawn, but it's looking rough. That's where you put IS on Grimgate and think I'm getting in the mix. But the more people who do that, though, the less appealing that gets. You know what I mean? As soon as there's like 4 or 5 teams there, it starts to get mad messy. But Game of Night, I'll put it back to you. Like, what position do you think? Like if Yomzo and Rise were second, like going into day 2, on what place do you think they should start dropping on them? For you, because you put it on them.
Personally, I don't know too much about the respawn fight situation,
Okay.
But I do know that after last NCS, their vibes are pretty shot after like those allegations that they
Yeah,
had.
that was bad.
So
yeah.
if they were able to like con a high team that's like contender caliber, that it could really motivate them and boost up the team morale.
I think if Yomzo and Rise get top 3, I think they're going to be ecstatic regardless. They're the big picture teams. They're the Blood X disciples. I think they've got like the big picture in mind where they're a team who would so happily take 2nd or 3rd over just like the win, but risking it all. I don't know. I think it's a good concept you talked about of like a tier 1 team who doesn't have a good drop because their drop is a bit messy, landing on Peterbot Poyo, but I don't think it's Yomzo Rise. I think that's where I would kind of leave it. I want to see someone do it though. I want to see like a team that gets random surprise con by 2 teams start dropping on Peterbot Poyo.
I could see a world. Maybe I'm just reaching here, but the situation at Reckless Railways with our boys Reet and Ritual,
Yeah, Reet and Ritual are good fighters too. Like that's a good duo to spawn fight.
Off spawn, right? It's like if they're uncon at Reckless, unless they start like trading Surge with a team around them, like it's gonna be hard to get Surge, right? And they might have a rocky day 1 because of that.
Yeah.
Do they go, you know what? This Reckless thing ain't working out. Let's switch up. And I've seen people say
Reet would not give a shit. Reet would too. Personality wise, he definitely would.
When you're talking and like thinking of people who wouldn't care, right? I've seen people, why would a millionaire be fussed about it? Over at Lavish Lair, I think a similar thing is gonna happen.
Are you doing clicks? I thought you were gonna go Booger, bro. I thought you were going Booger.
I was gonna say clicks and Epic Will, right? Again, I think we'll end up talking about them because spoiler alert,
I don't think Clicks wants the drama.
I know he doesn't want the drama. I know he doesn't want the drama. So that's fair
viewership,
enough.
But I think he wouldn't.
In theory, it's like I think they will have some problems early on day 1 at Lavish Lair, right? And so what happens day 2 where they're looking at it and they go, these are the kind of people where you got to start looking and thinking, they might start having thoughts about it. But that's
my prediction of one team. If I'm picking one team that I think is going to really potentially upset Peterbot Poyo, I think it's Cooper Canada. Both of them have the mama mentality where if they're doing shit day 1, going into day 2, their drop spot is right next to them. They don't have to switch their whole game plan. They just have to be like, yo, instead of going south for Surge, what if we went north? What if we push in? Like that's Fedoxy and Tripburn, bro. The last EU Duo Cash Cup, Fedoxy and Tripburn got Grimgate Medallion 4 times out of 6 and they don't land Grim. That's all I'm saying. I'm not wishing it upon Peterbot. Razaru DM'd me on Twitter after I made my video talking about things that I think could go wrong for Peterbot and Poyo. I think that's the biggest issue. I think Cooper Canada could be the ones that really upset things. 2 or 3 teams start landing Grim Gate. The fight staggers. It stalls out. A healthy Cooper Canada roll up, they could really make shit messy for Peterbot and Poyo. We'll see.
And Cooper and Canada have, they've had some words with Peterbot and Poyo. Like there's already something brewing there. You know? So there's already a bit of like animosity and resentment there that gives them that motivation. So I like that. I like that angle.
All this just makes me sad. All of this just makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a fan of just giving Peterbot and Poyo Grimgate 12 out of 12, and let's see what they can do. I don't care. Listen,
it'll be cool. It's gonna be fun to watch.
No need to save NA. Just let it run wild. That's where I'm at.
I kind of agree. I don't know. Like, I know why the pros are bored queuing up into a tournament, especially a Duo Cash Cup. Duo Cash Cup, I don't think it's a good example because we're kind of going off Duo Cash Cups as what teams' vibes are going to be like for grants. It's not the same. Duo Cash Cups, the money in them is not the same anymore. The money prize split doesn't make any sense. In grants, pros are still going to be gassed up, motivated, queuing into game 12 if they're in 8th and a win gets them 2nd and they call to land. I still think the vibe's there, even if Peterbot and Poyo are on 1,000 fucking points and the tournament's over for first. I still think as long as the cast, again, Viva, which I know you obviously like can dictate a lot, and streams like me, Levin on socials, Levin as an analyst, kind of you guys can keep that storyline going where it's not just first matters. I think it's gonna be fun to watch, bro. Like it could be, imagine them winning fucking 12 out of 12. Like shit would be hype. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be crazy.
And I think also people have to kind of respect, like, funny enough, I think the whole situation for Peterbot and Poyo this season worked out literally perfectly in the sense that like Acorn and Cold were like, we're going Grim Gate. And then obviously we had like the whole like Quanti thing going on as well. And so like every other team on the map's like, okay, we're not going to Grim Gate. Like we're not going to start practicing Grim Gate. And then it's just like both of those situations, Acorn and Cold, like obviously instantly left. Quanti now has left. So it's like no team is really prepared to go Grim Gate at all. And Peterbot, but like looking at it from like a pro player perspective, I've already spent 1-2 weeks looking at this job spot. Peterbot and Poyo have already spent 1-2 weeks, learning this job spot. And the crazy thing about Grim Gate is it's one of those POIs where that if you're landing on it in some of these like open qualifiers, right, where you don't know who's going to go to your drop spot and you're kind of just fighting random kids, those are the hardest like kind of like spawn fights to win. And if you're getting that experience and like winning in some situations, like Peterbot and Pollo are just they just own that drop spot. Yeah, they're just ready at that point. There's no preparation that you can do now to catch up to them. They've got it locked down, so no team's gonna be like, let's go there.
And just to like add on to that on the last thing, I think they're mentality monsters. I don't think they can, like, you know, like how like a lot of like one angle I'm seeing a lot of people run with is the whole like day 2 thing of eventually day 2 some teams will start flying in, whether they be good teams or not. Like somebody will fly in, which I think will definitely happen. I think Peterbot and Pollo see those kids flying in and chuckle like, all right, you want to land on us? Okay, like I think they.
Peterbot lives to spawn fight, bro. He lives for it. Like you watch his streams, like bro, he gets so amped to spawn fight. I was talking to some of the pros about it. I think I was talking to the guys at the Dig Boot Camp about it, and they're like, bro, Peterbot is a freak. Like he actually loves to spawn fight. Like he lives for it. Like I think right now with so much on the line, I think he might be a little bit more nervous. I'm not gonna lie. There's so much we've never had this weight of expectation on a team ever. Venom Queasy was almost everyone's pick to win the Grands. They won, but it wasn't like this, where it was like, bro, if you don't win by a landslide, you're dog shit. On top of all the other accusations being thrown around as well, like I think they will get some nerves there, but you're right. If some team who has no practice at Grimgate just has a drop map pulls up, I think Peterbot and Pollo are going to eat them alive. Like they know the drop, they can land other sides, rotate it. Like they've got so many strats. I already know it.
And just the one more kind of like point on that, like somebody in chat said, but who said you have to off spawn kill them? So the thing about Grimgate is the perfect drop spot for Peterbot and Pollo, because there is literally a river there of green water that gives them the ability to literally jump on top of your head instantly. They will fight you. There's no living. There's you are fighting them no matter what. And listen, like you said, Peterbot is a freak. He's probably got a huge ego right now. He just wants to fight, and he's going to get that fight because of the
Pollo too. Pollo as well. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, I like that game, and I thank you for that.
Good question, bro. I like you putting a name to it too. That made it fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gonna bring somebody else in now.
I can see this person. Ooh,
you know this person. We got our next caller in back to back. We're gonna try and get the floor a bit better before I get this person in. After the next person I get in after this next person, I'm gonna open up the channel again for people, and then we'll have a couple more in. But let's get the next caller in. What is your name and where are you calling from, my friend?
Hi guys, just to start, big fan.
Hey, what's up, Panda?
What's going on, everybody? It's Life with Panda.
Hello,
saying hi. The only thing I have to say before I start is my wife said, Vivid, hi.
Oh, hey!
If you don't know, they're best friends.
If you know,
it's like this thing, they're besties. So she literally required that I said it if I was coming on the show. So, what's up, boys?
How's it going, dude?
Yeah,
doing good. I love it. I love the format. This is pretty sick.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Good. You got a take for us?
I know you were
spicy. Bring it spicy. Come on, Panda.
Okay. Of course, you know. So my take is Clix and Epic Whale win this FNCS if Peterbot didn't have the medallion.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
And so my reason for this, you can all you want, Vivid, but my reason.
Oh, that was a good. That was a good.
Okay. I'm just making sure. You know, I gotta defend myself here because I know I'm gonna get attacked for this.
We like spicy takes. It's good.
But honestly, this is the chapter for Clix and Epic Whale. I see a lot of positives coming from the team, the way that they're playing together, how they're effectively landing. And then watching their first FNCS and then watching the qualifier, like the open qualifiers for them, this FNCS, both show me that they have what it takes to win this season. I do think they're going to be a top 3 team. I think they're going to beat their 4th place from last season. And the only real challenge is Peterbot and Pollo, in my opinion, in that lobby. So that's my take. Go for it. Do as you will.
I'm gonna jump on this one first, only because I can give I can break the ice. I know people are scared to shit talk Clix. Start of the season, Clicks
I
look
ain't
dog
scared.
shit. Clicks look dog shit. I'm just gonna say it. And I
Yeah,
said that to Clicks.
but-
Clicks was in my chat and I had the conversation and he was looking triggered. He was saying the season's like really, really bad. But it was like more so like I was talking to my chat about and I talked to Clicks about it personally. I was like, look, bro, the season's not the greatest. I get that. And you know, you love the sniper, you love the auto shotgun, both got nerfed, but it's not as bad as you're saying it is because I know you're not in the mindset right now. Like you had your mind locked in on this Miami content house, and then now you have to compete. And he was like, he was not in a good mindset. So I thought they were looking terrible. Now though, he's locked the fuck in. He's using the new shotgun, which for me was like a holy shit. He finally stopped being a baby. He's accepted that, you know, but winning is intense. Top 3, I think will be a sick performance, and I'll be super proud of them. Winning is nuts. I will say, and I can say this again with Whale being one of my favorite people, Whale did not perform last Grands. Whale knows it. I think Clicks' community let Whale know it, unfortunately. Yeah. Whale knew that he underperformed. And Whale is usually the grand finals monster. The 6th time, the LAN champion. Like, to see Whale underperform on the big stage was very odd. And Click stepped up to the plate. If they both step up to the plate this Grands, I think a top 3 is doable. A win, I think, is insane. Even without Peterbot. Not insane, but I think even without Peterbot and Poyo, a win would be tough. But, yeah, that's my take.
So, I like Clicks and Epic well this chapter in general. However, we had a conversation about this on the Fantasia podcast today.
Ooh,
little plug there, you know, little plug there.
Yep.
And essentially, I think they missed their season. Last season was the perfect season.
It was.
In terms of meta for them. And this season, I don't think the meta plays into them. I don't think the spot they're in plays into them well enough to where, even though I do think they're still going to be good and there'll be a team that is in and around that sort of top 5 area again, I don't expect them to be. And I don't think if Peterbot and Poyo hadn't been this dominant team that these guys would be a contender to win. And I'll break down why. So when you look at last season and the success of last season, the Surge meta was very much running around and fighting people because it wasn't a Surge based meta last season. People weren't making Surge bases. People were still getting used to the bullet drop off, right? Like it was really just hard to get Surge last season, the traditional way people always have. And so what that meant was that you had people running around with their grapplers and you could just easily just wrap around all over the place and just fight people. On top of that, or snipe them, right?
Which Clicks is very good at.
Which Clicks was incredible at. One of the best snipers in the world. And you know, when you look at it as well, they also had an incredible shotgun that allowed them to be so dominant in fights, right? In all these box fights, which you know Clicks is already a specialist in. This season, the lack of mobility means that they can't run around the same way they did last season. You know, if you don't actually go to rotate to the right places for your damage and for your fights, you end up in really awkward situations. And when I've watched them this season, the problem I have is when they look for Surge, right? A lot of the times what they do is they run around and they go to whichever bunkers near them, right? Problem is, Lavish doesn't have good timings to those bunkers. So they're never first there, right? Somebody's always claimed it already. And so what ends up happening is that they're trying to force people off their bunkers, which again, like they're pretty good at just because it's like they're such good fighters. But reliably, like in a grand finals lobby, if that's how you're playing for your Surge, you're relying on yourself just trying to push people off bunkers like every game, like that to me is a recipe not for success. And I think they're going to have a couple games on that day one especially where they are just going to struggle to get Surge because they're going to be running from this bunker to that bunker. They're going to be a bit behind the lobby. They might not have the loot they necessarily would have had last season out of Lavish. And I just see a world where that could cause some issue for them in some games. Now, that's, you know, the earlier part of the game, right? Early and mid game is where I'm a bit like, oh, it's just the setup for them just doesn't look as good at Lavish. To be fair to them, end games, they are clean. They are clean.
Dude, they're mid and low. I'm so happy. I'm sorry. I love Lennox. I think he's one of the smartest guys in the Fortnite team. But last season, when I saw them go for height, lose it, go for height again, lose it, gold, I was like, motherfucker, just play mid and low. You're two of the best players in endgame. Please stop going for height. I genuinely think that arguably could have cost them Grands last season. Seeing them play mid and low this season is so nice. It's beautiful. It genuinely is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in there.
No, but I agree. And that's the point I was sort of helping them on, is that they are really clean in those end games. So I do think they are one of the top teams in the region. I think they, you know, have the ability to be a contender for FNCS in a world where Peterbot and Poyo aren't dominating this way. I just don't think it's this season. I think if it was going to happen, you know, based off of the 2 seasons we've had in this chapter already, it was going to have to be last season. Last season's meta just fit them way better. This season, I think they'll have a couple more problems early game.
Okay. So the question was, if Peterbot and Pollo did not get the coin, and you thought that Clicks and Epic Whale were going to win, right, Panda?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So instead of harping on Clicks and Epic Whale, because I agree with everything that you guys said, I like the whole end game thing. I actually went into Clicks' chat at the end of day 1 last major, and I was like, dude, stop going height first moving. Just go later. Just go later. Like, and he's played so many times before with other duos where like he's had this usually his game plan is as soon as they find a refresh in the end game, they instantly go height. There was like no hesitation. They picked up the mats and they ran height. And I was like, why is that not the thing? And then honestly, like BloodX pretty much ended up telling him that, like, yeah, like, well, I don't know if this was the exact conversation, but basically ended up telling them, like, stick with the game plan that you guys know, and let's not fix anything right now, right? Like, even though, like, I probably didn't necessarily play a role in that, but I think Clicks was trying to throw in that idea there with BloodX and everything like that, and BloodX was like, we came up with a plan, let's just stick to it. Ended up getting them 4th, awesome. This season, like you guys already mentioned, they fixed those problems. They're way more willing
they
to play
can't go
low. And yeah, also that. There is also that. There are still lobbies, though, where, like, obviously Peterbot and Pollo haven't been in them, but they have gone later, which to me is, like, awesome. But I do love the fact that you kind of bring that up as well. If Peterbot and Pollo don't have the medallion, do they win the FNCS? Peterbot and Pollo, I think, would win this FNCS without the medallion. That's my final verdict.
Yeah, I can back that up. I think if there was no medallion in play and it's just like a normal meta of high ground and stuff, I think they do still win it. I can agree with that. Not to the degree that they currently are, obviously, because they just can't teleport to zones and stuff. But I can back that up. I actually probably agree with that too, which I think is like what will go down as an asterisk next to Peterbot and Pollo's name this FNCS is like they won it. Yeah, but it was medallion. It's like, yeah, but they look really fucking good regardless.
And I think what people sadly will forget is that like they just came second. Like,
exactly.
It's not like this is just like some like random fragger duo who was like always like outside top 10 who got a god advantage and started like they were already like arguably the best team in the region. Like they were a top 3 team in their region, and they just happened to get something that plays into their strength that allows them to use their fighting ability more. Like it's been the perfect storm for them. But yeah, like they would have been a contender regardless.
I think it's perfect storm of 2 motivated players too who are playing every scrim, best mentality. Peterbot and Pollo both giving up again. We talked about it. Whatever you argue, hundreds of thousands of dollars not to make content to lock in and make this their season. We've like never seen this. They play every single scrim session. They play every single tournament. They both lock in for solo cash cups. Like they really are just across the board locked in, and they both look so dominant that I think it is just being the perfect storm. Panda, I'll ask you though. So you obviously mentioned that one. Do you think Peterbot and Pollo win this FNCS without the coin? Do we get the 4 for 4 here?
Without the coin, no. But with the coin, absolutely. And I'm gonna call it now, right? Just so everybody can hear it. The week of FNCS, we're gonna get the Epic Classic. They're going to nerf the medallion in some way, shape, or form. And Peterbot and Pollo come 3rd. I'm calling it now.
No way.
Clip it,
we wanted bold takes. That is an insane one. You think in the next 2 weeks after we've had this big ass break, Epic's now like, fuck those kids. It just nerfs it. And then they still don't win. That's two bold takes combined to make like the boldest take I've ever heard. But I love it.
Do you know what's so mad about that, Panda? I agreed with that. And that's what I thought was going to happen way early in the season.
Yeah.
Like I remember before FNCS saying to people, like dead on, just saying, you guys are stupid if you think Epic are going to keep it like this. Like, there's no way it's going to get nerfed mid-season. Because that's also always happened. Like, there's always been this broken thing that eventually gets nerfed. And there's been radio silence on it. And I think the problem is that it's broken at a comp level. I don't think it's broken for casuals. No. Which is why it won't get nerfed, right?
It's annoying. You verse the kid in pubs and ranked with it, and like they have an advantage, but it's not like, I agree. It's a comp issue, so it's affecting the 0.001%.
And historically, when you look at it, it's like all those things that they have nuked mid-season, it's always been these items that were just broken for everyone. Like everyone's complaining about it. Whereas like the casuals, I don't think are complaining about Grim Gatecoin. It's like whatever. So
can I jump in with what I think again might be a bold take that is kind of on this topic? I think this season is arguably the worst balancing Epic has ever done. I think this season, if you take the core of it, I don't think we have a bad season. I think we actually have a good season, and it has the potential to be a great season, and Epic didn't execute on it. We've had seasons that are reversed. They start dog shit, and Epic makes them good by the end of it. I think this season, the fact that we had the wings just stay shit and it's like one of the biggest, missed opportunities of like a cool, crazy item. The Zeus Lightning was a bit annoying in ranked and pubs, but it's terrible in comp. Like the bunkers, the way they function being in zone and like the times they open and stuff. Like, I just think this is one of the most missed potentials from Epic and one of the worst balanced seasons ever. I'm just going to say it. It started good. It started okay and it stayed okay, but it could have been great and they just didn't make it great.
Okay, so where I'll come in terms of like agreeing somewhat, I think this has been the most untapped season. Because I think a lot of those things, I don't necessarily know if those things would have made, like changing them would have balanced the season better. Because I'm fine with the balancing of this season. I think the meta is actually in a good place. Like, I know there'll be pros who complain and say, I hate normally, man, I hate this, I hate that. I actually like where the meta is at right now. Maybe I'd change like DMRs because I think it's just like for Surge, I think they're just too broken. But in terms of like the actual things you mentioned there, right? There's things like wings, what they have with bunkers. Like, I definitely think there's things more they could have done with them, and they've not done much. Like you said, like in previous seasons, it always feels like we come into a season, it's very raw, it gets tuned throughout.
Yeah, we got no tuning.
Like there's not been much. But I feel like there's not had to be much tuning because it's just been fine. That's what I'm at.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't think I think there's just not had to be much tuning. Obviously, if I could have it my way, Grimgate would have got nuked to the ground. Like I would have nuked Grimgate, and then I also would have changed DMRs if I could have changed anything meta wise. But like generally, the meta I think is pretty alright.
Okay.
Viv, any?
I just think that this season probably kind of lacked a quote unquote fun item for everybody that kind of wants to play and be able to like watch, right? There's nothing that's really fun. Like, and honestly, listen, you could say that snipers are like probably the worst competitive item to ever exist in Fortnite competitive. Like, they're just always here, just one-shotting people across the entire map. Now they're nerfed, barely ever spawn and everything like that. You know what I mean? Like, even like casuals can't really find them, can't really get those nice little one-shots going off. The wings, like you guys said, usually the wings, I feel like, were the lightning bolt in this kind of scenario, or in past kind of collab seasons would have been like the fun item that people can kind of go around and just kind of like have fun with. Not really like a lot of that. I mean, I'll be honest, I was playing like a little bit. I was kind of having fun running around with the air bending and the water bending as a combo. Like, that to me was probably like the most fun I really kind of had this season. But outside of that, I mean, like, yeah, you can go for the coin, but then it's just like, if I'm playing with like my friends or anything like that, it's like
casuals and you don't want to drop into
exactly.
Like,
it's like I just have the coin the entire game, and then I'm like 400 meters ahead of them, and then I'm just like, also as OP as the coin is, and this is where it kind of comes in to where the casuals are kind of like, oh, it's not really OP. It's actually not really all that fun to use because the recharge rate just feels like so bad for some reason. I don't know, like when it's like in my hands, I'm playing like a casual game, it just doesn't feel good. I'm just like sitting there waiting for like 10 seconds for a charge, and I use one charge and I dash like 5 meters or whatever the distance is. It's really not that far. Obviously, in competitive speaking, when Peterbot and Poyo have it, it's extremely OP. But like in a casual match where I'm just trying to have fun, it's like not really fun. I don't feel like this season kind of lacks fun in my opinion.
So I think where I'm at is like where like reset. And it seems like that's a similar point to where you're at, Viv. Where it's like there's not necessarily. I don't think there was much to be balanced. It's just like I understand why people find it boring. You know what I'm saying? So it's like like those elements of fun you're talking about definitely weren't there. But then sometimes those elements of fun end up being why they have to do so much tuning, right? So it's like
exactly.
True.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Good question though. Thank you, Panda.
Yeah, no, thank you, Panda man. Friend of the show,
take.
Panda.
We're kicking off episode 1 with an extremely bold take. So to summarize, we are going to have the Grimgate coin nerfed into the ground. So far, the Peterbot and Poyo, even with the nerfed coin, are still only going to get third. Hell yeah. Clip it and ship it. I'm excited.
That's good. Big up to Panda.
Thank you guys for having me.
Take care, man. All right.
Another name I recognize. This will be either extremely good or extremely bad. I have very polarizing expectations for this.
We're going to get that next call in right away. What is your name and where are you calling from, my friend? Your mic's muted.
Yeah, I know.
What's up,
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. My name's Clutch. I'm from Portugal. I need to mute myself. Hold up.
Okay. For people who don't know, Clutch is the worst tweeter in all of it. You've probably seen him tweet.
Definitely.
And the tweets are always bad. We love Clutch anyway, you know.
Yeah, this is gonna be fantastic. So I'm so excited.
My take is kind of long. I'm gonna yap a bit.
Okay.
So basically, I think the ESL circuit coming in and taking over no builds as the secondary track, as this very org-centric circuit, will lead to Epic stepping in more and having a more hands-on approach, even if from, let's say, the shadows, because I don't think Epic will ever communicate or talk about anything they do. But they will. I think they will crack down on orgs, and there's multiple reasons for that. Number one, the circuit is coming in to replace no builds full stop. That's the plan. And there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of orgs involved, and those orgs are incentivized to invest even more money. So it's just a lot of investment going into it. And it isn't Fortnite. So if the vision pans out as expected, other community, this opens the gates for like other communities from other games to interact with Epic's products. So it is in their best interest to keep it in check, to keep this interaction controlled, let's say, because it's all done through organizations. It's all teams, it's all orgs.
Interesting.
And on top of that, there recently we've all seen the NA is the center of the org scene. I think we can all agree that right now the org scene is in Fortnite. EU is kind of dead. Brazil is kind of dead. OC is just power, and then the other minor regions. Asia is the traditional orgs, and we don't know much about them. So like for us in the EU and NA scene, it's only like 3 orgs. It's Elite, Dig, and Agent. And you look at what's going on in the org scene right now, and in the comp scene in general, when it comes to what investment is coming in, it's stuff like Agent getting sponsored by NFT Pokemon Go. It's stuff like Dukes, Bucky, and Scented getting whatever the fuck it was called, Wagerifier or something. That gambling sponsor. It's stuff like Swamp Gaming that's funded by crypto and NFTs. So that mixed with the whole ESL stuff is even more incentive for Epic to crack down on org's behavior, and I think we will start to. We might not see it, but we will definitely start to feel it soon.
So I get what you're saying. What do you think? How do you think they will do that? Like, how will they?
That's what I was thinking. Like, what do they crack down on? They don't help us with anything as is. Like,
how do they insert themselves in this?
Yeah.
I think just knowing. Okay, I don't know Epic, but the small knowledge I have of Epic, I imagine it would be just stuff like player repercussions, or making it even harder than it already is for orgs at Epic events, at globals and stuff, to do stuff.
Yeah,
because
I think
it already is quite hard for orgs to get media passes, to get access to the backstage and and do content. That would just make it impossible, for example.
Yeah, I think global is what they can hold over their head. Having a LAN event where they can say who can and can't go and literally deport people. I know deport's probably not the right word with Bucky, but literally get people kicked out of the country within hours is pretty insane. Like that, they clearly have a lot of control over that one. I don't know. The whole premise here, I don't know if Fortnite's going to go that hand in hand with ESL. ESL is now acquired by a Saudi company. A lot of gaming companies are scared to touch Saudi companies as is because of the optics. We've seen that a lot with the Gamers World Cup and stuff like that, like the Gamers 8 and stuff. So I think Fortnite's going to keep doing from the shadows what they're doing, where they limit and control what ESL and Gamers 8 and DreamHack do, but don't actually go as outwardly to like actually start really aligning themselves with it like I think you think they will. I mean, ESL and Gamers 8 and DreamHack all have that much money. If you guys don't know, the Esports World Cup, again, for anyone watching, is $60 million. Fortnite's only a small part of that. And a large part of that money is also going to be a bonus for orgs that compete in multiple games. So I think it's going to bring orgs, but I don't think Fortnite's going to get as on board with as what you think is my take.
I don't. It's not so much that they'll get on board with ESL and work with them. Because of course they allow ESL to exist in Fortnite.
True. Yeah, very
just
true.
like they allow DreamHack. Epic doesn't work with them anymore.
Yeah.
But go on.
No. So what I was gonna say is, I think where we might see them be involved per se is that obviously, like, and this is like public information, like when you want to run a tournament over a certain amount of money, there are guidelines you have to follow, right? That Epic have set. Like, not anybody can just run like a 200k cup, right? Like there's guidelines that you have to follow. And so I think in terms of their involvement, then there may be like, they may add extra guidelines for certain types of competitions like this, where like orgs are involved, and maybe that's where their involvement comes of like, because they already have a lot of that stuff, like the stuff you're talking about where it's like, you know, like a lot of these really bad and crappy sponsors and really shady things, like a lot of these things they already have rules against when it comes to running tournaments in Fortnite anyway. And so
even showing them, like if you have a crypto sponsor on your jersey, you have to black it out at globals and stuff as well. They have already kind of been on top of that.
Had to black out the Loot Boy players weren't allowed to wear their jerseys on media day.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So stuff like that. But then, is there a world where maybe they extend that, where they say if you are a tournament organizer running a competition with orgs, you have to also adhere to certain, like the orgs that participating can't show these certain, like maybe that is the way they like extend some sort of like involvement. But in terms of like directly being involved, even if it's quietly behind the scenes, like I don't see a world where that is. I think when you look at the vision for Epic and what they're building in terms of, you know, they want to be like this platform and Fortnite becomes a platform, part of that happening and making sense means that these things have to be able to exist on their own, right? Like, they like, I think an ideal situation for them, we already know like they don't really want to do much of orgs, but an ideal situation for them is that like they don't have to do anything at all. And I think that is what they will probably build towards, which I think they can build towards. So
I think they can. ESL's also got a big reputation as well, Clutch. I just went to Melbourne to do the ESL DreamHack thing, so I think I've been privy to information other people don't have, so I don't want to share too much. But they have announced publicly that there will be open qualifiers for the Esports World Cup and the Fortnite-driven tournaments, and they don't have to be signed to orgs. If Jimmy, Bobby, you know, Timmy and Carl show up and play and they place really, really well, they can make the Esports World Cup representing no one. So I think maybe that'll help Fortnite stay out of the whole like orgs have to be involved thing too.
There's no guaranteed slots for the orgs as well. It's just that the old circuit, although of course it is open and, you know, the 4 friends can get together and play the online quals themselves and go all the way to the Esports World Cup, they will just end up getting signed by the org, those 4 friends. And
potentially, because like Loud don't have a team, like Carmine.
Loud don't have a team.
They've announced 4 orgs and 3 of them don't even have a team.
And
so they're gonna have to pick up someone.
They even announced there was a tweet the other day with XSET, Agent, Man City, where they tweeted where they're not partner orgs, but they're collaborating with them still and allowing them to play in a league or whatever it was. So like orgs there's a lot of orgs are coming into Fortnite right now. And ESL is being the gateway for orgs coming in, but they're not coming in just for ESL. They're gonna stay. Esports World Cup is only in the summer.
I don't think they're
gonna stay. But ESL's plan is to build this whole ecosystem that's like a whole consistent thing for months or years to come. So they will be. They're probably incentivized to stay in some way, I imagine.
Yeah, you'd hope so. If you sign if you sign again, I know Thomas HD, whatever, like you sign like a really good player who's got longevity in their career, even after the ESL World or the Esports World Cup is over, ideally they would still keep representing Loud and then keep playing. So that's a good point.
And they what players would these orgs sign? They would sign, if they're not signing the squad, the free agent squad that made it, so that they know is a guaranteed value in the game mode. Who would they be looking at? They would be looking at the best Fortnite players in Battle Royale. So they would be looking at, for example, Venom's a free agent right now. Mustache is a free agent right now. They would be looking at those names. Yeah. So it all comes back to Fortnite competitive in a way, even though it is very focused on ESL. It all comes back to Fortnite competitive, and it still impacts Fortnite competitive. And all of this together, I do think Epic will crack down on it a little bit, because as much as, like Levin said, their perfect world is they just don't do anything. They just sit back and everything organically grows and works on its own. The Fortnite orgs, these other traditional orgs, not so much of an issue. But the Fortnite orgs, they're getting up to some questionable shit recently.
Yeah, and I mean, they always have. It's because
they always have.
There isn't really this scene to flourish in. There's not this scene of big tournaments with, like, you know, it's not, we haven't had this. I think the idea that ESL has is they'll come in and they'll provide a platform where these orgs can finally make a return and actually like make a good scene where they won't need to take shady crypto deals. There'll always be orgs that do that. I think other orgs that are very well established in esports, like, you know, Call of Duty and Apex like that, they still run into those issues as well. Hopefully it'll become less prevalent in Fortnite, but I think it's the idea that no org's been able to survive in Fortnite for an incredibly long time without either taking some shady deals or eventually running into being unprofitable. This is what we've seen from like everything as well. So it's kind of hard. Like, again, like it's either you get like an NRG where I don't think NRG really did stuff that was too shady, right? There was no really shady deals. Like the players, controversial with some takes, but nothing crazy. But we all just got dropped. We all just got dropped because it wasn't profitable and they moved on to other things. They went on to Valorant. So we haven't really had an org actually like stay in it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how ESL handles that. But I'm agreeing with Levin. I don't think Fortnite's going to try to take any more control over the org scene than they have. I don't think they're going to try and like clean things up because of ESL. I think they're just going to try and let ESL run as much as possible because ESL also is pretty conventional esport. They want to keep things clean. Like Levin, you've worked on ESL shows. Vivid, you've worked on ESL shows, right? Like it's usually even a step up from Fortnite, which is crazy in saying that. Like they try to keep their stuff really clean.
Yeah, they have like they have just so much like they've been doing esports for so long, right? So it's like they have their methods and ways, and I think I think the key thing with them is that like they want to build an ecosystem that exists, and that's why again it's a bit off topic, like, but that's why like I do hope that this isn't just something where like after Esports World Cup, it's just dead silent and we don't hear anything again until next year. Like I hope there is some sort of like
I think they'll keep running some stuff.
Planned. Yeah,
they
like,
seem to care. I can share this
yeah.
publicly from meeting the guys involved, from meeting like the head of everything to do with all of this and the map makers. They do really care. Like I have full faith that if anyone can pull this, I was skeptical that anyone could pull off their vision of, again, bringing it in, switching from the main battle royale mode to making a cohesive esports scene with orgs and all that. I didn't think anyone could do that. Now, after having met the guys who are involved with ESL and doing the Esports World Cup, I now believe it is possible, but I think it's only possible if it's them. So I have hope and faith that they have the right intentions and they can then execute on it. So I think they will keep things going if it goes well. I think if the scene responds well to it and people respond well to ESL, I think they will make it a big deal once World Cup's over. I don't think it's just that and then they're
done. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, Epic is just like I've been a part of the scene for like 6 years now. Epic has obviously, I mean, whether they've seen it or not, or who has seen it, we've had orgs kind of come in, pump and dump players in whatever capacity you kind of want to talk about. ESL now having these quote unquote orgs being involved isn't really going to incentivize Epic to jump in any more than they currently are. Like, it doesn't matter if there's one org or 10 orgs. We've already seen a time during Fortnite where there's been multiple orgs that have been, involved with Fortnite and everything like that. We've seen shady orgs being in Fortnite, and from what I know, Epic hasn't really stepped in. And I don't think ESL kind of creating a tournament with some of the largest orgs is going to force Epic in any way, shape, or form to kind of step in, because if anything, the only way that I kind of see this going is that the ESL tournament is going to do nothing that we haven't seen before. Probably these orgs are probably going to pick up a team. They're going to be signed for like 2 to 3 months, and then they're probably going to drop them, and that's just how it's going to be. And then those teams will probably pick those players back up if ESL holds another similar tournament to this, where it's like, hey, you need players signed to your org in every single game, so that way you can actually compete or earn some of this money. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I just see the same thing kind of happening that's been happening in Fortnite forever. These orgs are just going to pick up players and they'll be gone after 3 months. So I don't know what the contracts are kind of looking like for some of these ESL players, whether they think they're going to get 2-year contracts, or if it's literally like, hey, listen, hop on board for just ESL. Like, hopefully the orgs are being clear about their plan and not misleading anybody in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I highly doubt, like, there would have to be some crazy stuff going on for this to kind of force Epic to kind of step in.
Team Falcon's 1 week contract.
Clutch, can I also end on this point? Dude, how can you have the most brain dead tweets, but then converse so well in a language I don't think is your first language? Like, bro, I was not expecting concise, good conversation around such like an intense topic. Like, bro, your Twitter does not reflect you at all. God damn.
I'm just clinically bored.
That's fair. That's fair. Using Twitter for the platform it is, just full dumpster fires.
Yeah.
My thing with Clutch I never understood about you is like you like follow like 5 other esports plus football, and like I'm like, how do you like watch all these things? Like, how do you
I don't follow that many anymore. Uni takes some time away. I can't follow everything anymore, but I still keep up with most of them. I watch Fortnite, I watch League, I watch Valorant, I watch CSGO, and that's it.
Madman. Thank you very much for the question, though, brother.
Hey, Clutch.
Keep up with the bad tweets, brother. Keep it going.
I will do, man.
Keep it spicy.
See ya.
See you, dude.
All right. Before we get the next caller in, I do just want to say a huge thanks to everyone that's showed up and that's been hanging out and watching. this has been a lot of fun. I've been
Has
like
been
this has been really good. We've had
sick.
some great people come in.
We keep getting the question: is this run by Fortnite? Fuck no. I will never. I will almost never be on something Fortnite again, Chad. Because whether they don't want me involved or whether I don't want to be involved, like I know Levin and Vivid still have their thing. No, it's not to do with Fortnite. I will still always have the same opinions I have on my stream anyway. Like these guys,
Don't worry, Ozzy.
maybe I have to tone it down, but no.
I'm gonna make the
Just
boss
in case-
call, Ozzy. We're getting
Yeah,
you back on. I'm making the
in
boss
case-
call. We're doing
In
it.
case that wasn't clear, I mean, I'm still doing my thing. Don't worry. So this won't be mad bias towards Epic or anything in the future.
Hey man, Vivid man, smile, man. Smile for the camera, bro. Don't worry, you're good, man. We're good.
It was fine. It was fine.
All right, cool. Let's get the next caller in. Hello, what is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Red, and I'm from
homie?
Macedonia. And my take is that Chris and Squee are a very underrated EU duo, and I think they were very good in Grands.
Ooh, so
Interesting.
is it Hriss and Skivvies who we're talking about?
Yeah,
I've never known how to pronounce
yeah.
their names. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I'm gonna have to default to this one to you guys because he might have the god opinion because I know them, I've seen them, but I can't mention like almost anything about them.
Okay, so I like this because for people who maybe again like aren't like super locked in with EU, it's like, and the nature of this format as well has just meant that like there's teams who can just go under the radar really easily.
Oh yeah.
I just lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. I need to lock back in. Yeah, I have felt in EU this season that like there's not really been like a standout team, right? Like at different points in the season, different people have like looked good, right? Trulex and Chicho early on really looks like really consistent, with like one of the best teams. You know, at different points, like Tasting and Venom look like, oh wow, okay, this season they're going to be the best, or there's like it's just been all over the place, right? In EU, but the one team that has consistently been like just super on it has been Hriss and Skivvy. I was put on by the legendary Coach Harry. Shout out to Coach Harry, and people in the chat already mentioned him. Like Reese just said in the chat somewhere, Coach Harry. You messed me up there. Somewhere Coach Harry's smiling, hearing this take, and he 100% is because Coach Harry, big up to him. He was the one person that was saying from very early on, these guys are just the best. Like they're goated.
I'm looking at their placements, bro. 32nd, the most recent one. Probably something went wrong there on Spawn, but their two performances before that was they won a game in the Eval Cup and then a fourth in Duo Cash Cup Finals and a fourth in Duo Cash Cup Finals. Like that's insane consistency on EU for a team that I know about, but I couldn't have told you that. I didn't know they placed even top 20 a single time. They've got 2 top 4s back to back.
Yeah, no, these guys are the real deal.
Okay.
And I want to see them get more props because the reality is, like, I'm very confident they will be in that top 5 come grand finals, like finishing. Like they are a really good team. Yeah, no, they are good. Vivid. You need to look. Vivid, when you watch, you're gonna be very impressed. So to give you the rundown, Skivvy is like a really underrated IGL, and this is the story from Coach Harry because this is what he always tells me. Skivvy's a really underrated IGL, and he just has so much like clarity. Like he just has a game plan and he sticks to it, and he's really like strategic and he's really on it, you know. And then Hriss as well as like a Frago, as a guy who's gonna come in, do big damage, but good fundamentals as well. It's funny because these guys are obviously like Balkan players, right? So they're in that Balkan community. I don't know where Skivvy's from. I know Hriss is like North Macedonian, but for people who maybe don't know, like that Balkan com has all just been getting like in a good way. I know this word usually doesn't get used in a good way, but they've all been getting like groomed by Queasy for like the past 3 years. Where like he's been.
Let's go with the word shape.
Okay, shape. Yeah, we'll go with shape.
God
we'll go with
damn,
shape.
we don't want that clip getting taken out of context.
But like in the sense of like he's been like it felt like him and Trulex have really been like building up a lot of those guys, right? Like he's been like those guys have all the Balkan com will really stick together. They all play with each other. They all learn from each other. It seems like. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of those guys do really well. And Hriss and Skivvy have definitely been the ones that are like shining the most. So I like that. Some Hriss and Skivvy love. That's nice.
I mean,
so I have no idea what this deal is about. Got nothing on them personally, but I will say that with up and coming duos, right? There's always this kind of ever occurring conversation about, oh, this duo is next up. And for me, I kind of look at one of two things. And one, it's always going to be how many FNCS finals have they made? Skivvy, it looks like 3 previous ones, right? So kind of has the experience. Is it going to be enough to kind of deal with Surge and FNCS level to where they get top 5? That'll be the big question. And I think always the second and probably the most important thing in any up and coming like players strive to the top or something like that, is that they usually need to do something that impresses the people that are at the top currently to invite them to their friend group. As soon as you are involved with a tier 1 professional players friend group in any way, shape, or form, I promise you those players get like instantly better. And I was going to kind of bring this point up, and I was going to be like, well, I don't necessarily know who their friends are or kind of what they're doing or what their free time is kind of spent doing. But Levin kind of bringing up the point that like, oh, Queasy's already kind of involved with these guys kind of makes me interested a little bit, right? Because there's not just like, oh, they're up and coming and it's just like, okay, cool, like they've placed one. It's like, no, actually they're up and coming and they've already got connections within the scene, people who are already spending time watching VODs. Or listen, even if you're sitting in a Discord call completely muted, you don't say a single word, and if you just listen, probably Queasy, Benno, Acorn, Cole talk for like 2 hours, I promise you will learn something. You will learn something that you would have had to have probably taken like 20 hours of like VOD reviewing. Like it literally expedites some of these players' progression throughout the Fortnite scene so quickly. So if they are truly involved, if they truly are putting the time with some of these tier 1 players, then I could definitely see them performing pretty well this FNCS.
I think EU, that scene looks a little different though because of languages, right? Like I know a lot of people can speak English, but like I think NA very much is like that, Vivid, because like there's so many friend groups that you can be a part of. I think in EU, like there is a lot of that, like you need to be taken under the wings of the tier 1 players of your language because they are so regional based. Like the French players really only stay with the French players unless they try with other people. Like they could sit in a Discord and speak English all if they wanted to, but I feel like, being from, maybe a smaller region or like a small language group kind of facilitates that more as well. But it's interesting to see. But again, why I think this FNCS format is terrible, because there should be no way that someone is a guaranteed pick as a top 5 from some of the best analysts in the world. And a lot of us just haven't heard of them or care. So I think that kind of makes it a bit harder as well. And the fact that EU is just like that, man. Like it's so hard to like get attention for EU, bro. The fact that I say Chicho and Trulex are one of my favorites to win Grands and have been from the start of the season, and so much of the wider audience just doesn't know or care or agree is crazy. It's so hard to pick EU this season or any season, but especially this season.
Sorry, I was just handling getting the next caller in. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the big thing here was obviously like people talking about like with the Balkan com, even though there's a bunch of different countries in that Balkan like thing of like North Macedonia, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, all these guys, they all basically speak the same language. Like all their languages are so similar that they can all just speak to each other.
What does that total population look like though? Still compared to like the US, the Mexico, Canada population of like NA's dealing with, you know what I mean? Like it's still like my geography on EU is terrible. I'll admit that, bro. Like I think I can point to Macedonia on a map. I'm gonna straight up. You know what I mean? I think Viva might be in the same boat as me. We both got that very like American, Australian education system going here. But I know like with like the Italian scene, the French scene, like this, it still does seem to be a lot more different to the way NA functions, where there's like a few friend chords at the very top of tier 1s and everyone else is just kind of hanging out. Yeah, like someone's saying 30 mil, even if it's close to that, that's a 10th of the US population less. So already like it kind of forces them into groups where they have to improve together. And if you get a motivated group with someone who's smart like Queasy, who can shape them, that definitely I think would lead to like a blow up of potential for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's always been that way in EU, where it's like you have these sort of communities that keep things in, right? And so like people benefit from growing and building up in those communities. But yeah, nah, thank you very much for that one, Reg. That was nice.
I'm looking out for him now. That's good.
To Harrison Skivvy. No, you should, man. These
I'll be gassing them up. That was good. I like that.
Those guys are real good. All right, we got one more caller coming in. This is going to be the last one for the day, guys. Boo, I know, I'm sad. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this will be the last one for the day. A reminder, we're going to try and do these like weekly, right, Ozzy? We're going to keep these regular.
I'm down.
Even in off season, who knows, man? If it's really dry, we might run a couple. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm down. This is mad fun. This is better than me. Just usually I'll be watching scrims and stuff. This is way more fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so we can run these quite regularly, but we'll the plan will be we do one more next week. Thank you all for joining and for watching and being a part of it. If you want to be involved and you want to call in, join the Discord, and when the stream is live, you can leave your take in the Give Your Take channel. But let's get that final caller on. Wait a minute. There's a
we lost
technical.
They can ask in chat. They can ask in chat.
Tell you what, this version of this the week before finals will probably go
spicy.
crazy.
Spicy.
You guys will have semis done and everything like that, and like leading to finals. Like
we can come back to the crazy takes as well. Like that'll be cool to like come back because there's so few. I say stuff in like a 12-hour stream, and I can never like go back and clip the thing of like where I was right. But I also talk so much shit that like I'm gonna be right about everything at least once. Where like, having this is like a definitive like to my name what I think is gonna happen in finals, and just see if I'm completely wrong is gonna be sick.
It's always good to be completely wrong. That's the life of an analyst, you know.
Of an analyst, and being reminded of it every time.
Yeah, every time. All right, we do have that last caller. I think they fixed their problems. Hello, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, I am Thermos, if you can hear me, and I am from America.
Hell yeah.
So my question or my hot take was, I think that Fortnite needs to adjust zone damage. There has been so many instances where we have seen competitive teams just run back in zone and it just soak the damage to do whatever they need. And I remember they changed the zone originally when the new movement came out, I believe. And then when they fixed the movement, they decided to just leave the zone, which kind of contradicted certain things where this kind of allows for the EMAD GG strategy to come back into play.
Yeah. So are you on the side of you don't like people being able to play Storm as much as they do? Like you're not trying to say they should be able to play it more. You think Storm should be more punishing than it currently is?
Yes, I think it should be more punishing.
I hear that take because you're right. Like Storm plays are like just very normalized. Like you can be in a situation where like something goes wrong in your game and people will just like play Storm for the next 10 minutes and there's no real sort of like consequence to it. Because in these kind of lobbies and like duo lobbies, like you're not worried about Storm sickness because the heal-offs aren't too crazy. So it's like,
and that's such a boring thing as well. Like I just, you know what I mean? Like Storm sickness being the only fear that like, oh, but if you get to top 2, you can only play 3 med kits, not 6 in zone. So don't, no, like any pro's gonna be like, that's still a second. Like I'm still gonna take zone and get my loot and keep the game going. So, I mean, for me, going back in a zone where there's just no threat does feel kind of crappy, but I do really like when you see some crazy plays of getting a revive like Malibu Mustache, getting reboots, playing zone, getting health, getting back into it. That does get really intense, but I guess that's heavily outweighed by just teams who will just sit in Storm as their base strategy every single time. Like I want it to be something you can fall back on if you need to, but it should never be like, all right, so we're going to go into this game on 3rd zone, we're going to sit in zone for 2 minutes. Like that should never be someone's strategy. I agree. That's a bit kind of weird.
Viv, you got anything on this?
I think that, I mean, obviously, I was gonna kind of bring up the point that like, I like the idea that you need to like trade something for something in Frontier. I've always talked about like time for time, and Storm 6 is definitely like that thing that's kind of been like, that's kind of like the punishing factor. But yeah, it also is a very, very interesting point that I kind of bring up that's like, doesn't really have that big of an effect. Obviously, it'll come down to, it'll make the decision in some of these games, but not necessarily in all of them, to the point where like this one team doing this still gets a lot of value from going into Storm. Obviously being in Storm, whilst you can do a lot while you're out in Storm, like in the grand scheme of competitive Fortnite, it is terrible to do for a lot of reasons, some of which we've already kind of like talked about. But the main reason kind of being is you got to realize that if you're out in Storm, you are coming into some of these storms or some of these zones way later than some of these other teams, and you are permanently like on a terrible rotate whenever you come out of the Storm as well. Like that's something that you won't necessarily be able to quantify, but if you take a look at some of these teams, and you'll be able to see just how hard it is to actually navigate some of the zones when you actually decide to come out of Storm. And I think that's like kind of like a trade-off there as well. It's like if you're not in the Storm for that long, it won't necessarily affect your rotate or your Storm sickness all that month. But the longer you're in there, the more teams are going to kind of getting established inside of zone. So, I mean, I kind of like how Storm is right now. I don't necessarily mind it. I like those plays where you can potentially go out into Storm and kind of make these hero plays, like Ozzy mentioned, like crazy reboots that almost never happen. I mean, some of the statistics that come out, it's like there was for a long time there was like a rebooted team had never won a game or something like that. Now, even though it's not necessarily directly correlated to Storm, it most likely most of those reboots probably happen in the Storm regardless. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like as much as Storm can kind of create a lot of situations for you, in the grand scheme of things, it does hurt a lot more than I think one could quantify.
I think it it's like you said, it is very contextual and it's hard to quantify. I think there's scenarios where it's clearly more strong than others. So for example, and now that it's sort of like not possible anymore, really, because of things in the game, right? Earlier this season, when we had those rifts in the game, like those Midas rifts, playing Storm was busted. Like you play Storm, you do whatever you want in Storm. You cap your surge by camping behind people, you infinitely loot in Storm, then you can just rift to zone. Like that was busted, right?
Yeah.
And even now, still, like depending on where the zones are, like if they're like certain parts on the map, like on the east, right? If you're one of those teams that lands there, like if you fizz pad, like you can if the zone's somewhere on the east, like you can mostly get anywhere you want anyway. So it's like there's still situations where I think it shows just how strong it is. I don't think it's a super big problem right now that has to be addressed. I do think there's potential there for it to be pretty busted. And so it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see, like, in Grands, like, I'm expecting a lot of people to be playing Storm, not out of necessity, not because they have to, because they need a reboot or something. Like, I think people will just play Storm just because, again, it's like, it's a one tick for like half the game. So why wouldn't you? Like, if you need, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah,
I'm concerned that the only thing that's keeping it from being a problem, I think Thermals has a great point right now, is the meta having no mobility and then games going to heal off quite often, meaning that like you really don't want to tank a lot of Storm, and then not having a lot of mobility in zone, like you said, to get in are the things keeping it at bay. But I think all of those things are terrible. I want a season that has more mobility. I want a season that has more permanent mobility that people can play around, and I don't want heal off to be a factor. So for me to get the season I want would lead to tanking Storm like crazy, which I don't want. So again, I think I agree with you where it's not a massive problem right now, but I think for it to not be for it to be a problem later means that we're actually getting what we want. So I am a little bit concerned. I think they will have to address it if they give us a better meta in the future. So I agree with Thermals a lot. I think it will be a problem.
And like Nitwit said, like in the past, we've seen teams abuse this. Cammy and Seti won the Invitational because of a strategy like this, right? So it's like there definitely is like a world where if the meta is cooked up in a certain way and like Epic aren't vigilant of it, it can be abused. This season, I don't think it'll be as big of a problem, but there's definitely like metas and seasons where it can be like a problem. So I think we definitely should keep more track of it.
I think it's where if they bring like I think the way to do it is to make it a strategy where there's a heavy trade-off. Like it needs to be augment based. You know what I mean? Again, I don't think they'll ever get that right. Augment? No, not augment. What are the other things again? What do we have that I've already forgotten about? Where you pick two and you get like certain abilities like swimming faster? What am I thinking of? Guys, what
about augments? What?
No, is it augments? What are they, chat? Where like you pick a thing. It was augments. It was augments. Sorry,
it's not augments. I'm like,
it's not augments. I'm like,
augments, isn't it?
Sorry. They need to make it based on augments. My bad. It's been 2 hours. They need to make it based on augments. And like, but then again, I don't think they're going to use augments properly enough to do that as things. That's what we kind of saw in the past. Like where like if you want to do like the bush strategy and you wanted to like rotate out of the bush with mud to get like behind, you could then get the augment for that. And I think that made it a bit more exciting where Cammy and Seti and people like that could cook up strategies, not just I'm going to sit in Storm. Because then you guys on the broadcast can talk about it. I can talk about it. It becomes like an actual storyline thing and it makes it exciting rather than just camping in zone because why wouldn't I? It's less scary. There's less people out here. You know what I mean?
With strategy in general, not just specific to Storm strategy, but because of the few that kind of got brought up, right? Like launch padding with Fizz, just camping in zone for that, or like taking a rift out of zone, everything like that. To kind of touch on this real quick as well, that's necessarily directly associated with storm damage, but Epic definitely has to be just a little bit more careful when they are thinking about things like that, because with now the new shooting mechanic, right, where it's not, you can't just hit scan people out of the sky and stuff like that. Like those little strategies or movement things become very, very overpowered in that sense as well. So we do have to keep a close eye on like how those kind of things develop as well. But
they don't.
And then like with wings, but wings, they thought about it. They were like, oh, we'll just make the hitbox the wings, and it's like, okay, well, wings are absolutely awful. Who's gonna want to like, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to do like the balance there has to kind of be found. And
but I think that's from casuals. I think they do it from like casual story. Like they balance the game for casuals and then we just have to deal. You know what I mean? Like I think the wings was just because like they were like, yo, people are going to fly around the game in a pub match. People are going to find that boring. So we'll make the hitbox massive. Because in a public match, you can use the wings and kind of get away from it because kids are schmeat. Like, you know what I mean? The average kids is not that good. They're not Thomas HD. But if you put it into a comp setting and it doesn't work. And I feel like so much of the balancing, I genuinely think Fortnite has kind of gotten through by the fact that there's just enough balancing to make it work. But we really are the last thought when it comes to any item being added. Like when they add an item, they're not like, how is this going to affect game 12 of Grands if it's a Southern Zone pool? They don't give a shit. We just deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I think I think it's interesting. When I almost cut you off there, I was going to say it was funny because I did the wings back to like the mythic chests or whatever they're called again.
Oh, yeah.
The official name. And nobody cares. I know no one said a thing because it's just like, yeah, they're useless. Who cares?
Yeah, no one gives a shit. Whatever. The biggest change was them trying to get rid of them out of the game, which then made God Chest better. Again, that was a change that happened to comp. The reason why God Chest now dropped 2 guns and made the God Chest fights even crazier and better as POIs is because of a change to pubs that inadvertently went into competitive, and we all just had to roll with it. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, there's 2 guns now? Well, sick. That's just the thing we're now dealing with, you know?
Oof. Yeah, nah. I like that though, Thermos. That's a really good point.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the future.
Now we're all going to be thinking much more about that. I'm sure there's one team who's like watching this, like fuming. They're like, that was our grand strat, and you've just exposed it to the world. Thanks, mate.
Well, like Reese said, bro, it's 12 minutes. Storm Sickness is based on damage taken, not time. You can spend 12 minutes in a 1-tick before you get Storm Sickness. That is absurd for how little threat there actually is of that.
Yeah. It's pretty broken.
Thank you, Thermals. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you very much, Thermals. Hope we see you call in again. And that is the same for everybody watching. If you didn't get a chance to call in this week, don't hate me, okay? I want all of it. If it was my way, if it was my way, guys, we'd have this going for 12 hours straight. If it was
basically my streams.
Yeah,
basically what I'm going to do for the rest of today anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically what I'm going to do.
But it can't be so. So you're just gonna have to wait till next week. This was really, really fun though. I had an absolute blast. I can't wait to do more. Ozzy, thank you very much for jumping into this hole with me. I'm
excited.
The rest of it, really.
It's gonna be sick. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited, chat. We're gonna try and do them whenever we can. Like, we're trying to do them weekly if we can. Obviously, you know, FNCS starts to get crazy. That's the best time to do them as well. I know Vivid was just a guest. We're gonna try and get a different guest on each week. I don't think we explained that properly. Try and get some pros, try and get some community members. We'll try and get some people that you guys know, maybe people you don't know. Use this as a platform to build them up. But yeah, thank you, Vivid, being the inaugural guest, bro. Perfect person to have on. Thank you, homie.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. For everybody out there, you know, like they mentioned, they're going to try to do this weekly. Make sure you guys think about your questions or your hot takes coming into next week, especially as they happen. Next week will be a big one, like I already mentioned. Finals coming up, so better get spicy then.
Spicy. I mean, we had Panda coming in. Jeez, that was a spicy one. I'm excited.
Yeah. Also, guys, like Ozzy said, because we're gonna have people in, let us know who you are. You might tell us you want this person on. We'll hit them up. Do you know what I mean? And try to get them on. So make sure to let us know who you want us to get on. For the people watching live right now, because this is going to be available on Spotify. It'll be up on YouTube, 11-2K TV. You can see it on the screen just there. The VOD will be up there, but it will also be on Spotify and Apple. Tomorrow it should be up. It won't be up tonight, but it'll be up tomorrow. I'll have it up on there. For the people watching live right now on Twitch, be sure to stay here. Ozzy's going to keep streaming. The stream is going to quote unquote end, but Ozzy is going to stay live. So if you're here watching on Twitch right now, just refresh the stream when it ends. Ozzy will be live instantly doing what he does best. And I don't think there's anything else really we got to jump into. I think we've
I think that's it.
Mostly everything, yeah.
Hell yeah.
2 hours. Nice. Lovely show. Thank you guys all for watching. Take care. See you next